That's right, ladies and gentlemen. It's that time of day again. Ready or not, here we come.
Look at today.
Absolutely. Over on, only on Fun My Comic, Devil Flyer magazine, working on renewing the campaign. It's awesome. Been drawing, been on with Tank Ferret. Tank Ferret should join us here in a few moments, hopefully. And we also have Mark Largent later on in the show, so stick with us. We'll find out what's up. I was actually streaming with Tank last night and got a little bit of drawing in. Totally was working on a drawing and just kind of doing my own thing in the recliner. Wet, cold, rainy, uh, muddy, uh, drizzle, rain. Although we've gotten a little sunlight today. Um, at least we're not having to dig ourselves out of snow or it's above freezing or right hovering right there. A few days maybe at freezing, maybe 1 degree below, but nothing major. But yeah, just crappy wet weather. So it's good to stay in and listen to the rain and do your own thing type thing. Um, After the show and totally forgot. Just got in my own headspace and totally forgot about Topicless going on there to draw. But that's what I was doing at home anyway, just not on stream. So missed that. I guess we'll be on the Hump Day show with Omer tonight drawing. Did get some drawing in last night, coloring, which is another layer altogether. It takes, to make doing it traditionally with what I have to do with the alcohol markers is the blending or whatever, the layering or whatever to get it to look good. It takes some time. You know, as long as the finished product is good, I'm good with it. Uh, getting my ladies roster, getting my ladies roster uh, bolstered, you know, uh, did another member of the 43. This one I had started but not yet finished, and I finished it. I guess maybe it's a new character. Who knows? You create some duds, you create some good things. I don't know, but this one here is kind of an alien guy. It has a Thanos prune face, from Dick Tracy vibe to him. Again, doing the ones that are kind of light reactive. I've got one started here. I was working on it right before the show. Um, so there he is. Now let the camera focus on that a little bit. So he might need an emblem or something down here, something catch your eye because it's kind of dead space down here. Uh, anyway, there's that one. Not that thrilling, but the next one was what I was working on during topic lists and uh, started out in green, doing green line uh, 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 with it. That's what I had available with me. Most of my markers was in here, and so it's just like, well, I can. And I thought I might do it light reactive, and it turned out not to be. So um, I didn't do any penciling. This was all with markers. Uh, and sometimes it's struggle. I mean, that's if you do it with that. So, but it didn't turn out too bad, and I decided to give him a rod, a weapon that he could hold just in the shot. Maybe it can fire something out the end. So I add some smoke to that to kind of indicate maybe it's the muzzle of a gun, just a rifle or something that he's now holding upright. Um, oh, there we go. Maybe watching those Avengers type thing rubbed off on like Iron Man and Kang with a little green super adaptoid look. I don't know. Neat little villain. Hey, Bone. Hope you're not out driving today. You know. And sticking with the green motif, one of the villainesses that I created for the 43 of these blanks that I got, and then I filled them in with characters. This vaporous Nazi woman there that kind of controls, gaseous type stuff. And I was thinking, she's got no mouth. It's not a mask, so and telepathy's been done, right? So you are driving, okay. What about if she communicates through smell? Kind of like the Purple Man has endorphins, or Mandrill. You might know that obscure baboon-looking character. That was I first encountered in the Defenders. I think the Mandrill has a pheromone thing. Well, maybe she communicates through smell. Where it reacts with the person's brain, and they actually understand what she's trying to convey by smell. Hey, Katie. I was doing some scratch art back in the day, and this is one that I thought was it has the bystander in here, villains, heroes, can't remember what I used to call those guys. This is a Quasimodo type character. He's kind of, you can't erase with that scratch board because you're scratching the black off and revealing what's underneath. But they all came out quite colorful. But this is the bystander right here, his silhouette with his hand. And it's all has to do with the uh, reality rod there. Hey, Carrie, how come you name yourself Kiza now? Why Kiza? Why the name change? Everybody likes to change their names. So after I did this one, and I kind of like the green with that one, um, I went on a tank show, and I've been wanting to do these 43, which are the Nazis, especially the women, because I don't have enough women, and I need something more for reference and do some more. But I haven't really felt comfortable doing women, but I kind of got a little bit of confidence about me, although it was a struggle. And actually showed this off on Dan Fraga's show. Um, when I guess I was drawing on it on his show. Uh, that was so kind of got some confidence about me on that one, and did this one here, and it didn't turn out too bad. So there's a villain you'll be seeing in the future. She'll be in Momentum Unleashed. She'll be one of the characters along with that rock character that I've shown you. Let's see, I may have them buried There we go. This rock character there. There's another shot of him. She'll be with him, and so will that psycho man or whatever you want to call him. Don't have a name for him yet. I did have a character called Spore, and I thought about calling him Spore, but I'm like, nah. So just something I called at school. I'll probably change it back to Carrie. Yeah. It probably confuses some host, It doesn't confuse me. It did for a second and I tried to do some variation with the dark areas in the back, with gray and whatnot, and even used some whiteout on the last couple. I used some whiteout on that other one too. I think the other female one had to. I say 8% is covering up your mistakes when drawing. So I decided to put a star field back there. I think I got some pretty good variation back there, like it's smoky or something and vaporous, and her hair's winding around and whatnot. So that one's in the can, and I can hand that off and go, okay, here's reference. Just basically what she looks like, along with the other thing that I did. Tank Ferret did a speedster. Have I got somebody back in the back? I do, don't I? Speaking of which, Tank Ferret, how long you been?
Hey,
I didn't hear it boot.
Yeah, no. I've been just kind of chilling, letting you show off your amazing artwork. I'm so happy to have had you on the show last night.
Well, good thing I just happened to come in there and catch you. And like I said, I totally forgot about Topicless, but I was in my own headspace, and then would have never did this one. It weren't for your show. So some artists gravitate towards women, drawing women. I just never have, I didn't put enough effort into it. So now I'm, paying for my sins, and I need some sexy in my comics, that helps, help sell those comics, they say.
Hail to the chat. Hail Shadowhawk. Hail all you magnificent bastards.
Especially
you lady bastards.
We have a Carrie who's going by Kiza for some reason, an old school name. We have Bone. He's driving right now. We have a Katie in the house. Drive carefully, Bone. Absolutely. I think that's about it as far as, but we've got Wolf. I bet Wolf's in here. He always says bye at the end of the show. We have lurkers every day. I don't know why. We just do.
Hey. Lurkers are watchers too.
And I was
gotta love the lurkers.
And I was doing this one earlier today. It's not finished, but let's see, how did I do this? With two people.
There you go.
There we go. Well, man, that's big enough.
Oh, that's cool.
Some kind of a crater head type character. I don't know.
He's a hothead.
He's a hothead, right? Yeah. Not done with that one yet, but we're getting there. We have Jonas in from Sweden. Hey, Jonas.
Hey.
He's stuck in traffic. Oh no. Well, it's better than being flipped over and in a deep ditch. Just saying, right? Tank, what have you been up to? Did you get enough rest? You get all the kiddos food made for the kids? And
after the show, I
got to do that.
I prepped sliders. They've got this new dish they really like.
Oh, that sounded good. Sliders.
I put pre-seasoned some patties and let them marinate overnight. Then throw it on top of some homemade biscuit mix. I made biscuits from scratch for the kids. Just
Mhm.
slap the whole thing down, and then I just bake it up, and they eat it like a little. They call it pizza burger.
Oh yeah, I saw where they took a dozen Hawaiian rolls and cut them down the middle,
Mm,
and just lift the top off, and then put cheese on that, and then with some kind of drizzle on top or whatever afterwards. After
yeah,
they sort of bake that and melt the cheese and oh,
yeah. I
just pull
put
them
down.
apart.
I basically make up like a burger sauce, like a secret sauce, and I
Mhm.
put that down like a pizza sauce on top of the biscuit. Then I put the meat on, and then I put like cheese, and then I put the meat on top of the cheese, so it gets a good char on top. Set it to broil for
And that char
the
or like that
minutes.
roux that collects in I
Mm-hmm.
always like uh, the roast beef, like a roast beef with carrots, potatoes like that. My mother would
Yeah.
flour it up and all like that. And then some of the flour would come off and then make that sort of gravy in the bottom. I could just get a loaf of bread and just say gravy, and that's the best part of it to me. That's so good.
It comes out real good. The kids love it. And tonight for dinner, got chicken tacos with fresh pico de gallo. Those crunchy crust tostada shells. That was easy for me to say. Um, some Mexican style rice. Sometimes they
Nothing,
call it Spanish rice.
nothing's easy for me to say. I'm still working on my second language, which is English, um, obviously. And but you get the concept. Most people know
Hmm.
what I'm saying. If you get the concept and we're on the same plane, maybe we say it differently. Eh, I'm good with that.
And tomorrow, I'm really excited. My Get a second teenager in the house.
Oh
Been a while
boy.
since I've had two teenagers in the house.
Yeah.
Got my middle son. He's turning 13 tomorrow.
Why do I hear the music from Psycho right now?
All right.
No.
Yeah, he wants spaghetti dinner, so I'm
I'm
making
s-
some.
I'm I'm still dealing with the scars, Tank,
Right.
of the children. It's children in the house. Oh my God. I don't think I'd ever go back to that. I mean,
No,
I
I was
wasn't
joking
I
with.
wasn't prepared for it. I fully admit that. I wasn't prepared for it at all.
At first, I wasn't either, but I adapt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, after a while they beat you down, right? I mean, it's like the
But
Hulk. It's got you on the ground and he's going, Hulk, smash, and he just keeps ramming into you. What are you gonna
yeah,
do? You're gonna either just give up or, what can you do?
well, and I was joking with the Cult of Raven about how I'm a failure as a parent because my youngest says her favorite Teen Titan is Starfire,
Yeah. And you're
and
you're
I
kind
was
of
like,
team
oh,
Raven. That'll make Rozzy happy because he's team Raven too.
yeah, and my youngest son, her brother was just like, he goes, we're a Raven house, hail Raven. Like,
Yeah.
okay.
I always thought she was more of an interesting character because of her
Hmm.
sort of dark, mysterious powers and her father Trigon, which was a sort of antlered devil,
Yeah,
multi-eyed, you know,
he's the devil of the DC
on
universe.
the brink of taking over her body
Hmm.
and possessing her and coming into the world and causing destruction. So she had to kind of keep her distance from other characters,
Yeah,
right?
and she
Because
is
the
one of the
Kid
70.
Flash they all paired up. Dick Grayson was with Starfire. You
Yeah,
had the Archer was with
Speedy.
somebody was with Diane and Troy,
Yeah,
Wonder
I think
Girl,
that was Speedy. Yeah.
Speedy, and then who was with who? It was Changeling, wasn't it? That liked Raven,
Yeah, it's Beast Boy.
Beast Boy,
Beast
right? From the
Boy
old
and
Doom
Raven.
Patrol.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's that's the ship. That's
And
right
see, I
there.
didn't even know in that they brought in the Doom Patrol fairly quickly in the first dozen issues. Characters I didn't even know. Monsieur Brain and the gorilla. all that lore that I didn't know about in DC Comics. But it was great with Marv Wolfman writing and George Perez doing the artwork. I loved it. It was one of the best
it's a lot
titles,
of
I
fun.
think, of the 80s.
Well, and
myself.
the kids really get
Hey,
into
Trusty.
both the Teen Titans and the Teen Titans Go animated shows. That's their introduction, and they're fans for life. They love it. I've showed them. I've got my hands on some of the cheaper like Marv Wolfman comics that I could get my hands on, and they're like, "This is the same thing. Oh, this is cool. Why is Robin? Who's this?" At the point at Nightwing.
Well, you know,
Oh,
Marv
that's
Wolfman and Lynn
Robin.
Wein, when they were 10 years old, because they were basically about the same age, although
Mm-hmm.
Lynn's been gone for a few years now, sadly passed away, and Marv's still going strong. They grew up together in New York, and they used to go over Kirby's house when they were 10 years old
Oh,
and watch Kirby draw.
that's so cool.
And then when he moved out to the West Coast, it was people like Steve Rude in a later generation, when he was older, would go over his house and watch him draw. So he had like multiple generations go over his house and watch him draw as kids, you know, and who
Wow.
became writers and artists and was inspired by Jack Kirby.
Yeah,
Well,
I gotta ask the chat a question real quick. How's my volume out there?
volume's great.
Okay. Well, I just
Although
want to make sure I'm not too
when
loud.
you first came on, hey, Flip City Magazine, she was on with Doc Blaylock earlier today.
Oh, that's way cool. You got Trusty Sidekick. Oh
We're
man.
gonna have to have you on, Flip City, you know.
No, for real. I just saw Omer Glitch's submission contest, and I was in tears. I was laughing so hard. I was like, dude, you.
It was for which
they had-
contest?
Some contest at Flip City Magazine's having right now on X.
Oh yeah. He's into that, man. Doing, you know, he did a fan art piece for Justin Belmont's Pencils Down, and will be printed in the back of the book, in the fan art section. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, dude. I've been watching him grow as an artist. I'm very happy. I like it. One of my favorite things to do is I like to find these artists that like to say they're not like early Saturday Night Live, not ready for primetime players. Remember how they used to say, you know, Night Live and they're not ready for primetime players. And you know that original cast all became like megastars.
Oh yeah.
So I like to find these artists that I go, you know, they're not ready for
I loved Fridays. I loved SCTV. I loved Saturday Night Live around that time with this kind of second generation with Eddie Murphy and Martin Short and Charles Rocket, and you know.
Yeah, no, and I absolutely
John Candy, what a genius, you know.
I absolutely love these rising stars.
Well, there you go. Go vote.
I really do. I did. I voted. I'm biased though. So
did you? I have not yet, so I'll have to. I'll have to hit.
Well, the person I want to win is tied for first, so it makes me happy.
I'm gonna go in and cancels everybody's vote for.
Max is booting up the VPN. He's voting for.
I think it's great. You know, get in on some of these fan art contests or whatnot. To me, my next thing besides my own thing to do is a cover for Omer Glitch and his character called Glitch. I was looking at his character, which is kind of a Deadpool type character inspired. A very simple design, and I'm grateful for that. That it's not like, Rex, could you do a cover for me? Sure. Here's Salamandroid.
Yeah, gorgeous character.
You know, I mean, okay, great character, but difficult, intricate design. You know, I mean, if you break it down into shapes, I guess it's not too bad, but it'll take you some time to do that. That's why it's kind of a running joke with Shadowhawk. It's like, hey, Tank, would you do me a commission? You know what's coming. My favorite character of all time,
Yeah.
Salamandroid.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and I would love to. I love drawing Ethan's.
If I
characters. One of his
commissioned a
characters reminds me-
Salamandroid, it'd probably have Salamandroid and my favorite character, the Beast,
Oh, okay.
riding him or something. Yeehaw!
That's great. Oh, that's
I
awesome.
just fell in love with the Beast. I mean, what? Who wouldn't, man? You got the Vision, you got the Scarlet Witch, you got Captain America, you got Hellcat, you got the Beast. Who else was on that team? Iron Man and his great, and they may do different Iron Man suits, but they always kind of stick with that 70s, mid 70s look,
Heck yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Apex. That's what I'm
it's
talking
the
about, man.
classic. Alex Ross, when he did the classic characters, he was riffing on those mid 70s Bronze Age books that I grew up on. And I was glad because there's different artists do different iterations of characters. And I'm like, yeah, I like their artwork, but it's not really how I would depict him, character. Like in Wonder Man's costume, he had his villain's costume, then he went to that Red Jungle Gym type thing. Then
Yeah.
he's never really had a good costume. I mean, I'd prefer him in like his original Wonder Man villain costume than over just some of those things he had latter. Somebody needs to design a good Wonder Man costume. Apex said, I just voted for Omer.
What I'm talking about.
Not for a while, at least until my project is done, but I may commission Tank for a Battlehawk piece.
All right, yeah. I'll let you know as soon as I'm available. I gotta get caught up behind schedule, like disgustingly behind schedule, embarrassingly behind. Oh, caught up. I'm in good communication with clients.
Well, I mean, are you planning on streaming most nights or every night or what? What's your schedule looking like?
I'm trying to stream what I like to call school nights.
Hey, Elsie.
That's when I'm gonna tonight. I'm gonna go live tonight at 11 p.m. Eastern.
Well, just don't burn yourself out. Come in and
No. I'm gonna do
easy to do.
I'm gonna do a quick warm up and do a submission for the Pencils Down.
Oh, are you? Okay.
Yeah, and then I've got to get a quote unquote badass Scalpel Zero piece for the t-shirt line. Because we've been working behind the scenes over here at Omniverse Incursion Entertainment. Paul Roper at the helm, 21 Demons. He's been doing an amazing job, man. I'm not at liberty to talk about a lot of the stuff that's in the works. It's big boy business.
Yeah,
it's legit. It's outside of the indie sphere. It's plugged into mainstream commercial lines, retailers, distributors, contracts. So many contracts we've got. So many lawyers have been involved.
Well, like you said last night, I think the pond is only so big.
Yeah,
and you had to
gotta
look
go
for other people. I mean, they say if you can plug in on Facebook and get a crowd over there that's not necessarily, on YouTube, although I don't know who that would be.
Well, I mean, really YouTube's
expand your range.
X is fine, but you gotta reach outside of the comic book sphere. You gotta reach outside of the niche market. You have to try and tap into the general market.
Hey, Dario.
Let me see here. I'm looking.
Well, I mean, it is niche. It is niche, I guess. I guess I've always kind of known that. I just knew what I kind of liked, and I didn't care if anybody was in on it or not. I mean, it would have been nice to have a pal that like comic books as much as I did. You know, comics made me a reader. Um, I always thought growing up, you know, it was my dirty little secret that I didn't keep so secret, you know. Uh, Dan Lawler
Yeah,
Sinbad variant cover, yeah. Live on
it's
Sinbad.
called it's called Blue Ocean Strategy. Is what we're doing. So what most people are doing, and comics, they're doing what's called Red Ocean Strategy, which advertising to a saturated market, a lot of competition. There's a lot of people vying for your business, and we're kind of reaching out to other markets. Just this blue ocean market, going into the unknown, you're going into the wild blue yonder. It's
Mhm.
a lot riskier because you're not going to get you might not get as good as a return, but you create the new market. That's how you get the people back in. So we've got other products going out, and we're packaging comic books with every single product that we've got going out. So we've got like little mini
Well,
comics. You
Tank,
remember
you've been
like the
around
old?
longer than I have
Mhm.
been. You've seen this crowdfunding thing before I ever came into it. Um, was it sort of organic? Just kind of grew out of the tchotchkes that came with the book, people offering like bookmarks, and then you know it's grown and grown and grown where we're doing action figures and toys and all kinds of stuff. And I've seen action figures even on smaller campaigns that don't do much.
Mhm.
Um,
Well, yeah, because you're at that point, like
I
action
mean,
figures.
is that kind of what I mean? That's one of the exciting things is it's not just about the books. Is people are now producing all hosts of things, trading cards, magnets, you know. Uh,
It's funny you should bring up action figures because that is a market that we're into, and
mhm.
for that, a it's a different strategy. It's comic book secondary, action figure primary, coming out with the packaging. When you look at the back of the package character, whether it's box or a blister pack, it has to be exciting. It has to show you uh, universe, or in this case, an omniverse, several different
Mhm.
universe from several different creators, and getting into the strategy game market.
Well,
Another
you know, if
market that
there's
we're
one thing I
looking at.
learned in college in 3D design and sculpting of all places, it and not even graphic design really, it's presentation. Presentation is so key. Uh, you really have to give a lot of thought of how is this going to look, and it's the final. Does it look cobbled together? Does it look refined? You know,
Yeah, and that's been
presentation
one
is
of
so
the.
key. You know, first
It
perception,
really is.
and
It really
especially
is.
I guess in the age of multimedia, right?
Yeah, and we have a couple of key
Hey, Peter.
investors that are senior partners in the company, and they are largely financing this getting started up, and they have a lot of connections that we need too. It's another reason why why they are major partners in this endeavor. Um, they've got money, got connections, and what they didn't have was they didn't even realize something they wanted to do until they met with Paul Roper, and he pitched to them War Hell and 21 Demons and Zero, and they're like, "Holy moly!" They're like, "We want in on this." And he talked about the market. They took a look at social media. They took a look at the analytics,
Hey, Elmer.
and
A
they're
lot
like,
of
"Yeah."
people don't take that into account, the business
Mm-mm.
side of it, especially a lot of creatives out there.
I wanted to take a brief moment to on the chat out now. Yo, what's up, Katie? What's up, Apex? What's up, Omer Glitch? What's up, what's up, Peter? Always good to see everybody out there.
Mhm, mhm.
Really great.
Yeah, got a
It's
good
good to be
crowd
back.
in here, got you know.
Oh, it's amazing people out there. Amazing folks.
Unlike
And that's
yesterday was Tombstone, the Western.
and that's something that we're seeing. Oi, oi, Tree Goblin.
It
This is
was the
something that we're
stock market
seeing,
up and down, mostly down. Where was everybody
right?
yesterday?
Well, in reaching
I
out
thought
to
the
a more
rapture happened there for a minute.
general market is one of the reasons why you see like Raging Golden Eagle,
Mm-hmm.
his comic with the Blade Devil, Ashara character there. He took off and did 300,000 on his campaign, and it's because he had a market outside of comics. But they were definitely interested in nerd stuff. They were interested in manga. You got Eric July, Rippaverse, and once again, he had an outside market. He had people who were mostly there for his politics and music, and but it's
Well, I mean,
like,
it was
oh,
the same
dude,
thing with Eric July in a way, right? I mean, he
hmm
had a big media following before
yeah,
he ever decided to go into comics,
he had a different, yeah, he had a different thing, and then you've got an exception to the rule. You've got EBS, right? Who has a dedicated following.
Right.
Followed him from DC. People who followed him after his exit from DC Comics, and he delivering a dynamite product. And that's one thing. Like, I look at, and out of those three people, like, I see the most sustainable as being EDS, even though the timeliness has not been the greatest thing because he's an artist.
Right. Yeah.
He's learned to be.
Yeah.
He's learned to be.
Yellow Flash is coming out with his next month in March with John
Yeah, I'm
Dimmendahl.
excited for that
So
too. Yeah.
I don't know if he hurt the brand or not, but I think it's going to be wildly successful.
Oh, I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to
Yeah.
be good.
Yeah.
Dillard
Set in World War
usually
II,
tell a
there's
good
going to be a
story.
lot
Yeah.
of action. It was a lot about kind of like not necessarily, the morphed futuristic, taking a side alternative view of like World War Hell Dan, with your Frankentanks and stuff, but it's a hero in World War II. And I think
Right.
for comic book readers, that's kind of, the Invaders or All-Star Squadron, or that's kind of their sweet spot when all the
Well,
action was going on. Captain America, things like that.
well, you look at like Conflict 47, which is a tabletop strategy game. That's a World War II, but the war doesn't end. The technology continues to advance. They got mechs and stuff like that. That's a popular underground game right now, and it's growing. World War II is, if you do it right, that's a good seller. I see EVS as honestly having the best long term potential. Even though out of those three, he is the weaker businessman, but as a creative, he really knows what the fuck he's doing. Pardon my language. I really do have these. I believe he's obscenely skilled when it comes to how do you make a comic book? How do you make a lasting IP? The least long-term successful out of all of them, Eric July, and he's the strongest businessman. And that's because he's a music creator. He's not a creator. He doesn't have a lot of experience, and his editing staff. I'm not throwing shade. All right, I'm
well, I mean, he's got
plainly.
Chuck Dixon, who's written more comics than probably anybody.
Dude, I gotta say, man, I'm a mega fan of Chuck Dixon and Mike Baron, and books that they did, Rippaverse, were damn near unreadable. And I know it's not their fault because I've seen them with mediocre editors.
I've not bought any of them. I've heard.
I'm saying that Eric July's editorial staff is garbage. And if I were in charge, I would have fired them and hired new editors.
Well, I mean, is it a good business? I mean, for him to get into it, seems like the IP's been slipping since the first issue.
I don't know what his hang up is with keeping the Soska sisters on as editor. They're not.
Yeah.
They're not. They're not ready. They're not ready as
Not
ever.
ready for prime time. Hey,
They're
dude.
not. I've read. I read
Good to see
Isom. Read Isom. I read Alpha Core.
So did you back it?
No.
No, but you have read it. Okay.
I got my hands because I got to read these things. I mean, and if I like
Yeah.
it, I'm gonna promote it. You know what I mean? Like even if I can't afford it, this last year was real just garbage.
Right.
So, but I read it and then I talk about it. And my whole thing is, I'm your friendly neighborhood
it's a
force multiplier.
stone stirring the water, right? I mean, it's a big major
Yeah.
player within the crowdfunding scene, and you kind of want to know what's going on and at least keep tabs on it.
Right. And look, I'm your friendly neighborhood force multiplier. I'm not here to throw shade. I am here to help make products better. I'm here to help make people money. I want to see Eric July succeed. I want to see EVS succeed. I want to see these guys succeed. It's important to me. I do have to say that I have a selfish interest in because if they can put out a good product, it doesn't matter with all their little jibber jabber. That stuff doesn't matter. That's part of the wrestling show. Whether it's kayfabe or it's real, that's part of the show, right? But if they're not delivering good products, then that shoots every other creator in the foot. That puts out landmines, muddies the waters, that poisons the well, and it's like, okay, so on one hand you've got the businessman who experiences creator, and then you've got the creator who's inexperienced as a businessman. Well, the creator who's inexperienced as a businessman, he's been growing as a businessman. I've been watching him grow. I mean, like for real. And I'm like, yes, this gives me hope. I look at the other and I'm like, fire your editorial staff. Get rid of them. I would fire them.
Well, this is one of his latest and
because-
greatest, is it not? I mean, that's Joe Bennett artwork. Shadowhawk said he's also unwilling to pay for good American artists. Well, Joe Bennett came off of Eternal. I mean, kind of got fired from Marvel and went over and did work for Black and White, right? Did a cover pencil work. I'd call Joe Bennett, pretty solid. Although this looks like the Thing on there. It looks derivative.
Yeah.
To me.
Yeah,
I mean,
it might be.
They might.
It might be a little tongue in cheek. I do enjoy a little tongue in cheek, a little satire.
We're not talking about your sexual, proclivity.
Hey.
Okay, let's talk about it. We got time.
But I want to see it succeed. I would love to see Isom as a success. I would love to see Alpha Core as a success. I especially Mike, as always.
But why?
Mike and Chuck.
Why would you like to see that? Because
I like to see people.
A rising tide lifts all ships. Is that what you're thinking?
Well, I mean, that's a little bit of it, but honestly, I just like to see independent creators succeed. I don't like the big mega corporate. I do not like, unless my wife basically twists my arm. I don't consume, because she likes the Marvel and the DC stuff. Okay, she's not so picky. But I don't consume the Marvel and DC stuff. Like, I still haven't even seen Guardians of the Galaxy 3, and she keeps telling me, you got to watch it. It's really good. It's a good, good cap to the trilogy of the Guardians of the Galaxy. And I was like, okay, I'll get around.
That's the one that started out with Blue Sky, but maybe that was the second one. Maybe I haven't seen the third one either. Was that the one with Yondu? With the arrows and Stallone?
Didn't he pass away in the second one? Doesn't he die in the second one, or does he survive that?
I may not have seen the third one either.
I'm gonna watch. I'm gonna sit down and watch the whole trilogy, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy. I'm gonna sit down and watch that.
Well, I know I've seen 1 and 2, but 3, I'm not sure.
But honestly, it's mostly because my wife wants to be able to have something to talk about. And
Gable says, I suspect Eric July went to Dixon and Barron and said, hey, I want Punisher and Batman. And that's what they wrote.
Well, I mean, that could be the case. I mean, I love their writings. I love their stories. I mean, what was it? Ravage, Kill All Men. I know a lot of people didn't like that one. It was, Chuck Dixon wrote that one, and I thought that was fun. And I like fun. Yeah, Alpha Snore. Yeah, dude. Like honestly, Isom was. Gosh, dang it, man. I think a good editorial staff, and I don't mean like a single, but it needed an editorial staff, like a senior editor, character
And
development
what you
editor.
back crowdfunded, what percentage do you think is edited nicely?
Everything that I have, like, the oh gosh, dang it, I'm blanking on it right now, and it's one of my son's favorite comic books, right? Luke Stone.
Oh, hybrids?
Yes, thank you.
Right.
So I was
Bless
thinking
your
like
heart,
The
just
Exceptionals or
name
something
drop.
like that. Yeah, no, Hybrids. I really enjoyed that. God's Hand. That was a fun read. I really enjoyed both of those. I'm still not due to the creators, but due to I had to have it sent to a different address because I was in the middle of moving. I'm still waiting for my dad to ship me all the stuff that I backed in 2020 and 2021. I actually have a whole bunch of stuff that I backed and I still haven't read. And I can't wait to get my hands on it because one of the big selling points for me is when a creator says, I have an editor. And I'm like, oh, awesome. You have an editor. Because the editor
But
is
there's
that's the
different
first
types
line
of
of
editors, right? I didn't know
right.
that,
And yeah, yeah.
but
No,
there are.
and like ISIM number one, that could be saved. That
I
could be
just
saved.
know,
You need
Tank. I just know that I backed some books and they have misspelled words in them. That should never happen. Although,
and that's
in
that's
full
your copy
disclosure,
editor.
I've seen Marvel comic book covers
Yeah.
with mistakes on them. Very
Yeah.
rarely, but it does happen.
Well, I mean, you got to have your line editor. Your line editor is your spell and grammar checking, right?
Mhm.
That's a skill to be taken. Not some editors are not all in one shot. Sometimes you need an editorial staff. Eric
Yeah,
July's
I didn't
money,
realize that. I did
editorial
not
staff.
realize that. Somebody came on the show and said, "Well, there's different types of editors," and my mind
You,
was blown at that point, and that
you need
made
a
sense once
senior
they
editor,
explained it.
especially if you're going to be running a major commercial endeavor. You need a senior editor.
Mhm.
Somebody to oversee it. Sometimes that's even the creator. It's totally fine because the creator goes, okay, cool. It's been through all these filters and stuff. Let me make sure that this is still on brand. Let me make sure this is still the product that I intend the customer to receive. Editors are the defenders for the customer. That's their whole purpose is to make sure the customer is getting a quality thing. Visual editors, very important. We've got Takomi as the visual editor for Neon Revenant. And then we've got Cyborg Valkyrie and Shay at Valkyrie as both editorial staff for the writing and for overseeing. I think Shay is the senior editor on the project. Right? So I've got editors to deal with. King Leek, who wrote the script, and that's been through the ringer several times. It's been kicked back, edited back and forth to make sure that it's going to be this captivating story. Because
Scintillating,
yeah,
captivating.
we want it to be. We want you to read that first story. That's the 70 some odd page story, and be like, dude, yeah. But no, I'm gonna dispute that one
Are
because
you?
my
Yeah,
wife,
yeah.
who has been a professional editor and ghostwriter for over 20 years,
I did not know that.
says editors hire an editor and they write a book.
Is your wife bald? Because it looks like she'd probably pulled all her hair out by now.
No, but she keeps it cut short so she can't get a grip on it. No, I'm kidding. Uh,
Oh, just save the strands. You can tie her up later. Anyway,
right. Um,
oh, stop it.
yeah. Yeah. No, Gable is absolutely correct. At minimum, run your script through a spell check. But
Yeah.
yeah, you need to have another set of eyes on it. And editors are inexpensive. Like you can get an editor to just quickly come in and
Homer, you ain't
look it
right.
over and go, hey, this doesn't play out well. What was your intent? And the difference between a critic and an editor is that editors have solutions.
Well,
Right?
I
A
mean,
critic's just going to sit there and say it's bad.
there's
The editor's
wisdom in
going
a
to say,
multitude of eyes. You can never have enough eyes on a project
right.
to
I mean,
review it before you release it. You just can't, because it might be that, Ryan James, when he was around, he caught something in my ash can, a spelling of the word. There's certain words you can spell like gray and gray, two different ways. In that instance, it doesn't matter, but there are words like that, right, that you can spell different ways, and
right.
one may be a little bit more appropriate, in speech.
But editing
Unless,
but editing is not. I mean, spell checking. That's just line editing, right? Line editing that can be done with a computer program. But when it comes to making sure that your story flow is good, that your page to page looks good, that the story is comprehensive. Like for the Scalpel Zero story, it's so the saga total is so complex. I hired a continuity editor. And the continuity editor has come at me like, hey, so in the latest script you sent me, you said X, but it's not X, it's Y. And I was like, well, shit, that undoes the whole rest of that story. I got to rewrite the whole like third act, you know? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, just like in movies, right? You have a continuity playbook, and you have a continuity editor. I guess that's what they call it, right? Call the lady or the gentleman that has the book, the Bible that they kind of go by, where, what props should be used where, and because things can kind of get hectic, especially on filming days. Same thing with comics. I think readers kind of want a little continuity. I don't, that might hurt indie books, that things aren't too consistent,
I had a friend of mine who was the senior continuity editor for the Star Trek 25th anniversary. Back 25th anniversary, without sometime in the like. And we used to play Star Trek tabletop together. And of course, it was great because this guy is the guy right there at his fingertips, all Starfleet regular. He was a good player, so he never corrected the game master in the middle of the game. But during breaks and stuff, he might slip him a note like, actually, but and he helped. Oh yeah, no, I would never have. I mean, AI is okay for like if you got like a stoppage in the brain thinks, but I wouldn't rely on it. It's a tool like anything else, but it doesn't matter what brushes you're using for. It doesn't really matter what brushes that I'm using for say Clip Studio Paint, because it's ultimately me, the creator, that's going to deliver. But yeah, the editor should help make it good. That's the purpose of the editor. The purpose of the editor is to ensure quality for the customer. That's your people, and if the customer is happy, you'll get consumers. Consumers are great because they're free advertising. They may not pay for your product. They're going to, right? And that's what that actually does lead to more. Yeah, no, Gabe, absolutely. I absolutely. I see a lot of creators just winging it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it usually comes out like at best you get a roller coaster. Where it's like, yeah, that
It's
was a
kind of
fun
like
ride,
Swiss cheese
but
too, right? It's got holes in
yeah,
it, you know?
yeah, yeah, no, and it's like a zombie story I was writing with a friend of mine. We specifically put a plot hole full of zombies in there
Hmm.
just because it was funny, and it totally didn't make any sense. It was just a plot hole full of zombies.
Well,
Um,
uh you should have did the opposite of what the Walking Dead writer did. You know,
yeah,
he pitched it as aliens and zombies, but he just
right,
gave them zombies and it was a success. It just
yeah,
kept selling more and more. And they were like, when are the aliens going to come in? And that was nothing but a BS line from him to sell the
yeah,
book, to do the zombie book that he wanted to do. The aliens never did what was a part of it. You know,
yeah. Well, and Gable brings up a very good point here. Um,
yeah,
and that's
pacing.
usually why the pacing is so funky sometimes. And
Hmm.
yeah, I mean, one of the reasons why Neon Revenant has been was kind of like delayed, and now we're finally into the home stretch of getting production done because we had to make sure that that script was going. Had to make sure that the art style that we're going to use for the project is going to be consistent. At the How are we visually going to tell this story? Because one of the hallmarks of a comic is you remove the word bubbles and you still get
Yeah.
gist of the story. Can you still understand? Like, can you watch? I can watch the original Star Wars trilogy on mute and show it to somebody who's never seen it, and they'll understand what the story's about. They may
Yeah.
not know any of the characters' names. They may not know any of the specifics, but they'll see. Oh look, there's the kid. Oh no, bad things happen. Oh, he's the hero now. Oh, the old man died. That they can still get the thing. So if you can remove all of the words for your comic, does it still
Even in
tell a
a
story?
dense and complex story, you should
Hmm.
still be able to kind of walk through it,
And on the reverse of that,
and not be
can you
confused and take it
can you
out.
take your text and turn that into a film script? Can you just have the speech bubbles and write in visual,
Hmm.
right? So that way
Yeah,
you're
if
not
you were
cheating
just
once again.
we kind of cover that, Randy Zimmerman and us,
Hmm.
on his show, and where like EC used to put the word bubbles in, and then they would already be, I guess,
Yeah.
pasted in or lettered on the page, whatever, before the
Hmm.
artist got there. And I thought, I can't think of a more daunting task than having to draw around the word bubbles, which back then were somewhat substantial, kind of
Yeah.
wordy. I can't imagine trying to work that way at all.
Yeah.
I would not want to work that way.
Yeah. And Omer's absolutely correct. You don't have to pay for a line editor. You don't need a line editor. Um, Editor should be more than make sure that your editor story composition, that they understand pacing. Uh, and it is an academic um, but makes a good story. It really is, and that's what you hire the nerd for. You hire the
Well,
story nerd.
in the last couple days, Tank, I've had this thought in the back of my mind, maybe just about the last day.
Hmm.
Uh, it seems like some people are playing checkers and some people are playing chess. I'm playing
Yeah,
chess. I'm playing the
yeah,
long game. You
yeah,
know, I'm thinking, and I really don't think this way, but I know chess players do. 2 or 3 plays ahead. You do a little bit, I guess. It's been a while since
hmm,
I've played chess. I actually taught it to myself back in the 80s. Because I wanted to learn how to play chess, and I enjoy a good chess game. But
yeah. See,
yeah, it seems like a lot of creators are playing checkers and not chess.
no, your chat's on it, man. Your chat's on it. These guys get it. They do. They understand that. it's work. Because if you put in the good work, and the story's not going to be a homework assignment. Like, dude, Isom read like a homework assignment. That was rough. It was.
I'd like to read it just to see how bad it was.
These characters are doing exposition to each other.
It can't get much worse than that disjointed mess that some of the early Image books had. I mean,
God. Yeah.
It was unreadable.
No. Yeah. They were largely unreadable.
It's still unreadable today.
Yeah. Yeah, the artwork was absolutely fantastic, and then they had yes men for editors.
Yeah, because they were it back then, just coming off of high careers, at Marvel.
No, and Omer Glitch brings up a very good point here. He says, I think creators' biggest issue is that they are not willing to sacrifice their creation because they think their ideas no creator wants to go back and rework all the effort.
Well, I mean, isn't that hey Mark.
Hey
Rick. Mark.
Isn't that what an editor is supposed to do, is make the hard calls and throw the whole project out if it's not working, go back.
And here's the thing about editors, though, is that, if you're the creator, they're your employee. So if they're like, hey, this doesn't work, you can just look them dead in the eye and say, make it work. Yeah. And it's like, look, I'm paying you, make it work. Their costume has to be blue and their favorite flavor is artificial banana. Make it work. Make that exciting. How do we make that exciting? You hit them up. Because like I said, the difference between editor and critic is that the editor's got a solution for you. And the editor will come up with a solution. They'll go back, they'll start reading books, they'll bust out the Dickens if they have to.
Well, there's writers, Aristotle. There's artists, and there's artists. And
right, they'll bust out the Aristotle. Subjective,
yeah, but I read Chuck Dixon. I read Mike Baron. I hate to say it because we've had Mike Baron on here at least a half dozen times.
Oh, I love Mike, man.
And I read and bought a lot of his books, but he wasn't my favorite writer. Now, I haven't read anything of his recently. Leviathan looks awesome. Bronze Star looks awesome.
Mike, there's a funny thing about Mike that I've noticed is that it's how well he gels with the creator. That really does.
Yeah, I guess so. If you have a good symbiotic relationship with the creator, I guess it helps.
Like Smokes the Fox.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking hilarious. I love that. But Weaponized Werewolf and Smokes the Fox, I enjoyed that. That was fun. That got me to do some fan art after I read the book, and I was like, dude, this is fun. I enjoyed that. I want more. I want more of that. I want to see Weaponized Werewolf, more Weaponized Werewolf. I want to read another Smokes the Fox story. I want to see him get into some shenanigans and smart his way out of it. I want to see Weaponized Werewolf rip things to shreds and brute force his way through stuff. But, he's also got that cunning, that predatory cunning. And these characters are fun. They're well-rounded. The Smokes the Fox is, this poor creature, locked up in government facilities, and he's hyper intelligent. He finally escapes, and what does he do? First thing he does is he shuts off his brain by smoking some marijuana.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, finally, I stopped the smart. And he's actually able to sit back and relax and actually enjoy his existence for the first time ever. And that right there, it's a silly story. It's a short story. And it's absolutely great. And Weaponized Werewolf, who's like, this caged animal, absolutely insane and mad. And when he's set out on the prowl, it's like now he's able to embrace the world as a predator. Now he's finally able to get out and hunt and embrace his beingness. And that really got me. And I'm glad to see
What a
Mike is
wild
working on the second
mixture,
one with
though.
Justin.
Smokes the Fox, sort of a cartoony character, and Weaponized Werewolf, kind of your, especially with
So
Tim Vigil.
grimdark.
Yeah,
you
two different.
got this Looney Tunes and grimdark, and it's such a wonderful contrast.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I think
they work.
I think Mike kind of likes the comedy beats.
Mm-hmm.
Although
And
I don't
they
know
shouldn't
that
work.
was in his Punisher stuff. It might have been.
I mean,
when
these
he
two
wrote
characters are entirely different genre unto themselves. They should
Yeah.
not work. They are oil and water,
Right.
but they work so well that it's you see this. Your Laurel and Hardy, your Abbott and Costello, the straight man and the foil. It totally works, and honestly, it's probably my favorite Mike Baron stuff since like Badger. I love the Badger.
Yeah, I mean Badger was off the chain. I bought quite a few of those, and
I mean the dude's a nutbag, but
yeah,
you can't help but root for him.
Yeah, he was almost like DC's Creeper in a way. He was kind of off the chain, wacky character.
Yeah, Moon Knight, Creeper,
or Etrigan the Demon.
Oh yeah, I love Etrigan.
Yeah, Mark, what's going on, bro?
Not much. I was trying to think. The only thing I remember getting from Mike Baron back in the day was when they relaunched The Flash after Crisis. And it was Wally.
Okay.
I think Mike Baron was writing that.
He was.
I don't
with Butch Guys doing the art.
That's right. Yeah.
I bought those. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember them being extraordinary, but I don't remember thinking that they weren't up to snuff either.
Did you ever see his Nexus stuff?
Oh, dude, that was my introduction to Mike Baron.
Yeah, I've gotten a few of the Nexus stuff more recently. Mm-hmm. So those I've read. But back in the day, I didn't have a comic shop where I lived in the 80s. So it was virtually impossible for me to get a lot of those books. Periodically, like we would go on vacation somewhere or for Christmas and go somewhere, and I'd get that one trip to a comic shop and buy as much as I could with what I had. But I was digging through some of the things I've gotten recently. Apparently, there's this whole thing with Diamond. When they filed for bankruptcy, they didn't pay a lot of the publishers.
Oh yeah.
And Two Morrows sent out an email asking for people to buy stuff to try and put it over. So I picked up. This is a pretty cool. It's American TV comic books from the 1940s through the 1980s.
Ooh.
So Tomorrow's put out a thing saying, "Help us out." Is that what?
Yeah, they were like, would you buy some stuff, because they had a whole month's worth of books that they didn't get paid for.
Wow. Yeah, I saw Zorro in there. All the westerns. That's cool.
There was an amazing. Because Dell would do like one-offs in their thing, so they could cover a lot of them.
Yeah.
But it's not too deep as far as the process behind it. But I do love it's fun seeing in things like when they did the original Our Gang comics, Walt Kelly drew those. So
they had Dale had that 4-color that would do the TV shows or cartoons or just anything. I mean, it was a great format for
and then they could look at the sales and see if that warranted doing more issues of them.
Yeah. I mean, some of them reoccurred. I think the very first one was in the mid-30s, and it was Dick Tracy that didn't even have a number. It was a number issue, but that's considered the first one.
The first of the Dell.
Yeah.
They've got a follow-up book I went ahead and bought. It doesn't come out till March. That's of the movie adaptions that they did in comics.
So what time period does that book cover? That seems pretty extensive.
This one does 40s to the 80s. So I'm assuming that it's probably
And really,
similar
you could have
thing.
done the 30s as well in that, because there was even some TV licensing type stuff in the 30s, I think, that showed up.
Well, did anyone have televisions in the 30s?
Well,
the movies,
uh,
I would think that they have.
well, very
Um,
few. I mean, and the screen was probably
Yeah.
about that big, you know,
Right. Yeah.
with a cabinet that's this big.
Yeah, because I think the Lone Ranger didn't come out till 1949, and it was one of the early TV shows.
But it had been out on radio since the 20s.
But it'd been on radio,
late-
yes, since
Yeah.
33. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, most of the entertainment started on the radio, which is, you know,
Yeah.
theater of the mind, right?
Yeah. And then the other thing, not to, I don't get any street cred for this, but just for nostalgia's sake, I've been trying to complete my collection of the New Adventures of Superboy. This was the one they did in the 80s.
I've read a bunch of those.
Kurt Schaffenberger did most of the art on these,
Right,
which is kind of great. It was giving him something to do. He was later in life. I think the conceit with these were that they upped the time period so that Superboy was set in like
Throw some of
1963.
them off, Mark. Come on. I know you got a bunch of Dial H for Hero backup stories in those.
Oh yeah, they did a lot of those.
That's why I bought it. That's why I bought it, was for the
when I first started seriously collecting comics was after I saw Superman 2, and so I started with Superboy number 22. So this has been me trying to get up to 22.
and how old was
thankfully they're not that cheap.
How old was Kurt Schaffenberger in the 80s when he was doing this, you think?
Well, you know, he worked on in Fawcett in the 40s, so he had to be probably 60s, maybe.
Yeah.
And Schaffenberger was a really good artist. I mean, it was more cartoony. It wasn't
nice, clean
flashy.
style.
But yeah, but he was really good.
Story in the back.
He used to draw, you know, Lois Lane. He did the girls really well, and so the funny thing is that when I quit getting Superboy, I think it was like 6 issues before the book ended. So now that I've gotten up to 22, I have to go and get the last 6 or so. But it was a fun book. I'm going to take some time at some point and just sit and read these. They were enjoyable.
Well, I know
stories.
they went up into the 40s in the numbering.
They stopped at number 50.
Okay. And I know the latter ones had the Dial H for Hero.
Yeah.
I've got that one. Great ghost cover there.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things that put me off, as much as I like Gil Kane as an artist, I hated Gil Kane when he was inking himself with the marker.
Yeah,
Remember,
some people do. Yeah.
Yeah. Those DC things that he was doing, I just didn't like the look of those. I mean, you know, design wise, you know, the layouts, the figure work, everything was good. I didn't like the finishing.
He was better inked by somebody else that had line weights and stuff in there.
Yes.
With that marker, you kind of get a little uniformity that looks a little chunky or whatever.
Yeah, it was just I don't know what it was about it. It might grow on me if I go back and look at it now with older eyes, but as a teenager I was like, eh. And
well, I mean, that's the way, you know. See, I was catching like Kurt Schaffenberger in Superman, Steve Ditko, like he did a Fantastic Four annual, or at least the cover to one. He was doing some stuff, I think, for Marvel. And I was like, who's this Ditko guy? You know, I don't. And Carmen Infantino on the Flash wasn't that hot with him, but I bought it for the backup. You know, either you had Dr. Fate backup and you had Firestorm at different times.
Yeah.
Often I would buy comics just like Adventure or those Superboys had Dial H for Hero feature in it. That's exactly why I bought those. I didn't want to miss those because I thought it was cool that fans could create a character, send it into DC, and possibly get their name recognized in there, you know. And that was the feature in Adventure Comics.
Rex, do you
Right
know that
before it
was
went
there
to-
ever a superhero that actually came out of Dial H for superhero and actually became something?
Well, one he changed into was the first Silver Age appearance. They count this as canon. He turned into Plastic Man.
Oh, well, but that was an existing character. But was
It
there
was
ever one
existing.
like that a kid sent in and it actually was popular enough?
Yeah, I
that
think they were looked at even in the 60 series and when it was in House of Mystery as one-hit wonders. But
Yeah.
still, that I liked it because it showed the creativity of the kids out there, the fanship, the readers, and
Yeah.
sometimes you never knew what their powers were, and as a kid, it's like I kind of know what Spider-Man's about, Superman, Batman, and all these
Yeah,
other.
there was
I want these new characters that spark my and still
Yeah.
today. That's kind of why I've always liked the indie stuff, or if it was in DC or Marvel, something like that. Something I liked from Marvel and DC was the amalgamated, kind of mashup
yeah.
type things. Although not as much as like Dial H, which I kind of count as like Ben 10.
I was
before Ben
exactly
10.
what I was going to say. My nephews were really into Ben 10, and I kept thinking that reminds me of Dial H for Hero.
Yeah. The thing with
but he
Ben
had a
10,
set
I
number
wish
of
they
people that
took
did
it further and there were
Yeah.
more created things, and he wouldn't go back to like Heat Blast so many times or this or
They needed a
Gray Matter.
set number for the action.
Give me
figures,
something new, and I know you got to develop all that, right?
But they needed the kids to buy the action figures. You got to keep them in so that they have their favorites.
I got that.
Yeah. Oh, my nephews, they were little back then, and they both had to have that Ben 10 watch because if one had it and the other did, it was World War III. Yeah.
You stole mine. You stole my Omnitrix.
Yes. Yeah. Boy, that was huge with them back in then. But yeah, I mean, I like Tomorrows. I really hope
I do too. They did some
stick
quality
around.
stuff. There's the ones that publish that Jack Kirby quarterly.
Yes. Yeah.
They do some top-notch books.
I was collecting their magazines for a long time back in the day. I was getting Alter Ego, and then when Comic Book Artists came along, I was getting that. And they were great books, and I really only stopped because I foolishly quit my job during the recession in 2010, thinking that I could survive on freelance work, which once the recession was full on, completely dried up. So I couldn't afford, because they were relatively expensive for a magazine. But I still have a couple of boxes full of them. They were incredible. And I think it was either Alter Ego or Comic Book Artist. It was a flip book, and the other side was all about the Fawcett comics. And but their books, I've gotten several. I love their biography that they did of Dave Cockrum, and I even have one for Kurt Schaffenberger, and I have. Oh, I can't think of who else I have. I have a few of them.
But do you collect the really old ones, like the Superboys from I guess the first series that was out in the 60s. A lot of those had Neil Adams covers.
Yes, they did. No, I haven't gone back for that. My thinking was that when I take vacation this year, I'm just going to sit down and read all of these Superboys, and it'll be light reading to kind of get through. And these aren't particularly popular, so this didn't cost me very much to fill in the issues.
Yeah. Well, he had like a secret way to leave the house under the house.
Yes. We had a place that he could come out from.
Yeah.
Because he went down into
I guess some of that was kind of related to, in a way, to the 60s Legion of Superheroes, because he's had that for a long time, but they featured that in that run as well.
Yeah. And I
imagine some of that stuff was referenced for the Smallville show.
They did some of the Smallville stuff, some of the Superboy stuff. They, the actor they chose to play Pete Ross got into some kind of trouble, and they let him go early on. So Pete Ross was gone.
Yeah.
Because the gimmick with Pete Ross was that Pete Ross knew that Clark Kent was Superboy, but Superboy didn't know that Pete Ross knew that Clark Kent was.
Right. And everybody else is clueless. Jimmy
yes.
Olsen, Lois Lane, they're like,
well, this was pre them, so he had
Right.
Pete Ross was his best friend, and Lana Lang was his girl. And I don't
when did the actor for Pete Ross bow out? I think you're right about that. He's often forgotten about that. He was in Smallville.
Sam Jones the third. I just pulled out of my head was his name. I think it was early on, like maybe second or third season.
Okay.
And I guess that was a complicated.
How'd they get rid of him? Do you remember? I don't even.
I think he just disappeared. I don't even know if they referenced.
They just wrote him out, huh?
Maybe he went to live somewhere else. But the problem is that Smallville had Chloe.
Yeah. Chloe was wildly popular, but she went off the bent after that show.
Oh, she got into some trouble. In a lot of trouble. Branding people's privates. Yeah.
That's hard to fathom,
It really is. I mean,
because I thought she had everything in the palm of her hand with that show,
Yeah.
She was a hell of an actress on that show,
But I don't think they needed Pete Ross once they had her, because she could kind of be the best pal. I actually
with Doctor Who, I don't think he needs some of the companions sometimes,
Yeah. It was kind of interesting. They kind of did that later in the Matt Smith years, where his companions weren't with him 24 hours a day, so he could have episodes.
Even Doctor Who needs a breather from those earthlings, those foolish earthlings.
But I know I looked up the guy who played Lex, Michael Rosenbaum, I think his name is. He's got a podcast, and I know he did. It was a clip from his podcast where they asked him about the actress that played Chloe, who I'm blanking on her name right now. Was it Allison something?
Allison something, yeah.
It sounds familiar.
It's been a while since I've watched Smallville.
Yeah, same here. But he said that he really didn't work with her a lot because Lex was kind of he wasn't in a lot of scenes with Chloe. But I think they were all stunned by that. Who knew she was going to join a sex cult and brand people?
For real. That was not on my bingo card.
No, she did not. Her character was the girl next door. She was supposed to be nice and bright and sunny, not a
right
a cult leader.
Turned out she was a creeper the whole time.
Yes. Wow, she really got in. I watched some of those documentaries that they had about the Nexium or whatever it was called, and boy, she was all in and scary, kind of.
Yeah.
I do want to say though that I think that she got some lesser punishment. I don't think she was in prison for a long time. I think they really wanted to get the main guy, so they focused on him.
Yeah.
And the girl from Battlestar Galactica was there too. The one who was with the engineer guy. No. She was the mousy girl in engineering.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Was she in that cult?
Yeah, Nikki Klein, I think her name.
Oh wow,
her real name was. Yeah, she I think left it, or well, you know what? I'm not sure about that. I think she may have stuck around there for a while.
Well, that actress that played Chloe, though, she had Hollywood, I would think, in the palm of her hand. She could have went on and did some stuff. I thought,
she was definitely a breakout in that role, because you wouldn't have thought that.
Yeah,
that character
she was a fan favorite, and sometimes that translates and sometimes it don't. In this instance, she was her own worst enemy.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked Smallville quite a lot.
I thought it was pretty good,
Yeah.
it definitely got more comic bookish and, forming the Justice League and seeing other characters as it in later seasons, you knew
Yeah,
where it was kind of headed.
it definitely established that idea that you could put superheroes in regular clothes that just had the same colors as their superhero outfit.
Right.
Like Clark would wear a blue shirt with a red jacket. And I think they had the Legion of Superheroes once. They had the original 3, and they just had outfits, and their jackets would be, between their jackets and the shirts they wore underneath them would have the color schemes for the characters.
Yeah.
Which was fun. I almost wonder if they should have let him become Superman, though. It was starting to get ridiculous. The actor was clearly in like his 30s. He was still supposed to be.
Right.
Yeah. Because I think he was probably well into his 20s, and he was supposed to be, wasn't he supposed to be 14 or something when the show started?
Yeah, no, for real.
Yeah.
He never looked 14. He never looked 14.
No, he never looked. I mean, you
Not even
could
close to
believe
14.
that Clark would be a bigger dude, but
Now
yeah,
he's just getting DWIs out there.
well, yeah, apparently he did that. I think there was I was reading that his wife's father had just died or something, so something may have been going on there. But the actress who played Lana, she was like a teenager, so it was kind of creepy.
Well, yeah.
When they would have them trying to hook up, because she was actually underage.
For real,
Chloe
like
was
iCarly
kinda
levels
that,
of creepy.
That best friend, and Lois Lane was the babe everybody wanted to connect with, I guess.
Right. Well, that was the thing. Pete Ross was the Jimmy Olsen replacement, and once you had Chloe, Pete Ross didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so I think that's probably part of what their thinking was. But
Did
I do
Chloe
want to
know-
say that
Didn't she know? She knew about Clark.
I think later on she did.
She found
I think
out.
at the beginning,
Yeah.
at the beginning she didn't, but
Yeah.
at some point I think she did find out. And then they hooked her up with Oliver Queen.
Yeah.
Those later seasons of Smallville were really
I mean,
odd.
Arrow was a profound disappointment after the first couple seasons, really.
Yeah.
I didn't stick with it as long as I did The Flash. I think I went about 4 seasons in with The Flash, but it kind of weared on me,
Yeah, I had really, by the end of Smallville, I felt like it was a responsibility to watch Smallville just to get to the end. So I didn't really jump on to any of the other CW shows.
Yeah.
I thought it was
Well,
neat that they were around, but I didn't.
I bought hard copies and binge watch,
Oh, okay.
Like when Stargirl came out. I thought Stargirl was pretty good, and
I watched a couple of episodes of that. I thought that was pretty good.
yeah, well, I've gotten the first couple of seasons of that, and both were kind of nice. I liked
Yeah.
it. It was okay.
I saw a few episodes of Supergirl. I think I watched the first few episodes, or maybe the first 2 episodes of the what was the group of villains that they had?
I've got the first season, but I can't.
Legends of Tomorrow.
Oh, the Legends of Tomorrow. Yeah.
Was that what it was? And I remember in the first episode they name checked Per Degaton from the Justice Society. I thought that was cool, but
yeah.
I mean, they were basically soap operas with the
Per
superhero.
Decadon, and you had like Vandal Savage, from the
Yes,
Golden Age.
yeah, Vandal Savage was in
that
it
you
as
never
well.
hear about.
Yeah.
They kind of went walking. I thought it was cool that they took a Doctor Who companion and made her Rip Hunter Time Master.
Yes,
In that.
Rory. Yeah.
Yeah, Roy. Yeah,
Yeah,
I thought that was pretty cool. That he was kind of picking up the the Doctor Who time traveling vibe,
Yeah.
But other than that, it just fell apart. You had the lesbian, and
I didn't
that,
get very far into those, and I watched some of the
yeah,
Crisis on Infinite Earths that they did, which was fun to a degree. They had that little cameo with Burt Ward as Robin.
I would say some of the Netflix things with the Marvel properties did better
Oh
than
yeah,
the CW DC
oh yeah.
stuff.
Those Marvel shows on Netflix were adult shows. That
I mean, Daredevil's really good, and you can tell because they brought it back here.
yeah. Speaking of mixing Doctor Who and with superheroes, David Tennant as that Purple Man or whatever
Oh,
he
he was
that
great.
was
Jessica
frightening.
Jones.
Yeah,
He
he
was
was
great.
really creepy and scary.
Oh
That
yeah,
was
he's frightening, psychotic.
yes, yeah, that was a great show.
I mean, isn't that your worst nightmare, that you are made to do something against your will and you're
Yeah,
helpless to fight against it?
yeah,
That's everybody's worst nightmare, is that somebody could take complete control of you like that and just control you.
yeah,
No
yeah.
free will.
And the Daredevil was great. And I'll say it, I was not a Punisher fan in the 80s. I never got into it. I was kind of, although I liked Wolverine, I was kind of like anti-hero. I didn't like the idea of superheroes not being the good guys. So I did not read the Punisher. But that guy who played Punisher in the Marvel Netflix shows was really good. I liked those Punisher episodes.
Yeah, by the
But
time they wrote the Punisher, I mean, I caught the Daredevil stuff, but by the time they
Mhm.
wrote the Punisher stuff out, where he got his own
yeah, when he
series,
got
I
his son,
think,
yeah.
didn't he?
Yeah, he did eventually. I
And
don't
I
know if
didn't
I
think
watched the actual series, but I
I
watched him on
never really
Daredevil.
kind of caught that, because I was kind of getting hard copy, of the stuff at Target, and I just didn't get it around here. I probably would have gave it a try, but Tank,
Yeah, I
did
don't
you
think
watch
Netflix released
any
a
of
lot
those
of those.
Netflix or some of the CW stuff?
I did. I watched most of the CW stuff except for when like the social justice just took over the show,
Oh, okay.
and I really
Yeah.
lost interest at that point. I was like, I'm just getting preached at every episode, and I'm tired of it. I want to be entertained. I don't want to be preached to.
Yeah,
If I wanted to be preached to, I go turn on the 700 Club.
right.
Like for real. And oh, dude, yeah, no, Neon Revenant's awesome. And I watched the Netflix stuff. I honestly, I didn't make it too far to season 2 of The Punisher because it was just like it was playing and this is as a combat veteran, I'm a little sick of the stereotype of combat veterans are all broken PTSD pussies.
Yeah,
And it really just, I mean, Bernthal's acting absolutely phenomenal.
yeah,
It was just like it's just like, look, it's too hammed up though. This like the Punisher's not like that. That's
yeah.
not the Punisher.
I didn't make it to his solo show. I just saw him in the Daredevil episodes.
Season 1, Chef's Kiss, absolutely great.
Yeah,
Rex did that up on my show. I'm so happy.
nice.
That's looking great.
Yeah, because I don't do ladies very often. Although I'm trying.
We're all
I-
trying. We're all trying, Rex.
I absolutely did not like Iron Fist at all.
That was the one that made me stop watching. I
Like-
just couldn't get into it.
That was just, it was pure crap. I'm a martial artist with over 30 years practicing experience, several different black belts in wildly different arts, from kung fu's to karates. And I just felt that it was shit. It was just absolute garbage. Daredevil, chef's kiss. I absolutely
Daredevil
enjoyed it.
was
I had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
The fight Daredevil was a better martial artist than Iron Fist, and that really pissed me off too, because
Yeah.
Iron Fist one of my favorite characters.
Well, that was one of the big shocks for me when Daredevil started. Was the fight scenes were brutal. It was a lot of snapping bones and stuff. It was.
And I liked the actor who, I mean, before Iron Fist, I enjoyed, I enjoyed the actor from Game of Thrones because I was like, he's a good actor. So, this might be good. But, then it was just like, and it was just like, no, this is terrible. Like,
that's where it fell down when they kind of tried to do the Defenders, didn't it?
Yeah, no, it's like his kung fu sucked. It was shitty. It showed that he's not, the actor wasn't putting in the work to learn the stage fighting.
Some actors don't have that physicality. I remember they tried to bring back the Bionic Woman. I don't remember that actress's name, but she was so stiff.
Yeah,
she just wasn't good at the physicality. I mean, she's a good actress, but you have to have. There's an athleticism and sort of natural physicality you have to do those kind of roles.
I just heard that Hugh Jackman to do the role of Wolverine on Deadpool. Because let's face it, he's aging out, but he still looks better than
honestly.
Replacement.
When
he had a 6,000 a day calorie.
Yeah.
Wow.
6,000 a day because he was working out. At his age, it's almost and so did to do Batman, so did Ben Affleck. To put muscle mass on, I think Ben Affleck was.
I read that
was 52
book that they had about the MCU. They acknowledged
muscle mass on in your 50s is almost impossible.
They acknowledged in that book that all these guys, with the doctor's help, have been using steroids.
Oh, really?
Well, you're definitely on the TRT, the testosterone replacement therapy.
I guess you do have
so it's with doctors, so supposedly it's not.
They're
harmful, but they are definitely using steroids. They're not getting there naturally.
Yeah, they're
on. Of course. Once one of them does it, all of them wanted to look like that.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why Hugh Jackman didn't want to do the sleeveless costume, because he didn't think that he was going to be able to bulk up proper. To go without sleeves, without some extra padding to make his arms look bigger, because he was like, "Look, I'm not going to do the HGH." They do the human growth hormone treatment. That's why you see like Dave Bautista, like he's shriveled up because the dude's been on human growth hormone. And, I guarantee he's got an enlarged heart. You can see that in the Guardians of the Galaxy 2, you start to get Columbism. That's where the gut starts to get big.
Oh, yeah.
It's after, what's his name? Palumbo, the bodybuilder. He's dead now. I mean, the guy died of a heart attack because he had an enlarged heart. That also what killed Randy Savage. What's his face? Other people, And it's heartbreaking. So he didn't want to get on. He didn't want to do the thing, and. But he did. He actually did manage to put on some mass. I enjoyed the Deadpool Wolverine movie. I was tickled the whole way through, and I thought that God, what's her name? Xavier's sister.
She
masterfully done.
Yes,
masterfully done.
She was really good in it. I enjoyed the whole thing. There's not really anything that I can complain about that. But I was just looking.
All the way through.
So Hugh Jackman. I was born in January 68. He was born in October of 68. So he's 56.
Yeah.
So he's probably 54 or 55 when they did that movie. That's pretty good.
Honestly, he's aged into the Wolverine role.
That's true. We do think of Wolvie as an older guy.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, like I look back at the early X-Men movies and I'm like, look at this.
He looks so young.
He's a baby.
Yeah, he's a baby.
He's a baby.
That was in 2000.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, that was the first time that first X-Men movie where I felt like I was visiting old friends, because I was big into the X-Men in the 80s and during Claremont years. And
Yeah.
it had been a long time since I'd read comics, and I was kind of on and off about seeing the movie. And I went, and there was enough of the character in a lot of those characters for me to connect it to, like, these were the people I remember. Which usually I can't say the case for. Like, I've tried to read some X-Men in between then, and when you had one guy who was the voice of all the characters, you can't replicate that. So the characters never felt right after Claremont left, and not that Claremont should have stayed.
It was over 20 years.
Yeah, not that Claremont should have stayed, though, because he was really starting to get that. I never understood that old weird legends where the X-Men were supposedly dead, but they were in Australia. I was like, how, if you're still out doing stuff, how are you supposedly dead? It never made a lot of sense. And he would have endless, subplots that would just die on the vine. But that was one thing. And you would, at first glance, you'd think Hugh Jackman's too tall to be Wolverine. He's too pretty to be Wolverine, but he was great.
And I loved it in the movie. They brought out comic accurate Wolverine.
Yes. Did you see it, Rex? Did you see Wolverine Deadpool?
It's worth a watch. It really is.
I've seen the first one, not the second one.
Oh, no,
so you haven't seen the one with the latest one with Wolverine?
No.
Yeah.
No, you should really see it. They have a sequence where they're going through alternate timelines looking for different Wolverines, and they reference a lot of key scenes. There's one with him strapped to the X with all the skulls.
Oh,
There's,
I just saw something on X about that today where they, showed the setup of that. Yeah.
Yeah. They had
cover
one with him in the brown costume, but they held the mask till the end. And that was the thing.
It was so good.
Forever wanted that mask to be there. And they did it exceptionally well. And there was just something so fun. And it was cool that you had an actor who wanted to do it. Because, essentially he's losing his eyes, his face, and, just basically has his mouth left. But,
and honestly, it's been the bane of a lot of these comic book characters. These people want to get their face out there, like, hats off to Michael Jai White for Spawn.
Yeah, that was the original Judge Dredd. Was Stallone was like, we're paying for Stallone. We're not hiding his face behind a mask.
And he should have had just the helmet on the whole time, because he had the frown down.
Oh,
Stone cold.
Yeah, Stallone was a great choice
helmet on
for
the
that
whole
character.
time.
Yeah.
That was one of the very early, what I would call superhero movies that were actually fairly well done. With Max von Sydow.
It was accurate, except for Stallone taking the helmet off.
Yeah.
And other than that, I mean, I was like, dude, no, I'm a big Judge Dredd fan.
I mean, did Judge Dredd ever take his helmet off?
No, he never takes his helmet off.
If his helmet was ever off in the comic, his face was in shadow. You weren't supposed to know what he looked like.
Okay.
Yeah, you only got the frown. Like, that is his signature feature, is that
he's in the stubble on his chin, right?
Yeah.
He's the OG Grumpy Cat.
The take on Judge Dredd was the British. It was their version of the American action hero. That it was actually a satire of it. But Stallone was the perfect person to be that kind of a character.
I am the law.
Clint Eastwood would have been the absolute best, but there was no way Clint Eastwood was going to do it.
Oh, hey Rex, I'll be right back. I gotta use a little ferret's ring.
Okay. You think Clint Eastwood had the body type for it?
Well, a lot of the Judge Dredd comics, he was thin.
Yeah.
I guess
on.
it depends on who drew him.
There
right?
was one artist, Mike McCann, or I think that's what that was.
It would be nice if they did kind of a UK universe, because there was Strontium Dog, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you read any of that other stuff besides Judge Dredd.
A little bit. I came across.
You got Judge Anderson. You got Judge Death.
Yeah.
That would be fun to explore. I didn't think the second Judge Dredd movie was that bad.
I liked it quite a lot. The only thing that was missing from the second one was...
He played McCoy in the Star Trek.
He did, Carl Urban. Yeah. He wore the mask the whole time. The only thing that was missing from the second one is it had no sense of humor. Because that was the thing about Judge Dredd, is there was some tongue in cheek to Judge Dredd. He wasn't played, deathly serious. There was some ridiculous stuff, and if they had a little bit of that in, I think it would have been perfect. But I don't know. That's a hard character to get across to people. He never really took off. But I remember
it is, because it's,
you remember a comic
parody, scene? Because the guy's hanging upside down and he's got a gun on him, and it's just it's just wacky one-liners sometimes on the covers and stuff.
Yeah. Well, you remember Comic Scene magazine, the Starlog?
I love Comic Scene. Absolutely.
One of the first issues of the first run of it had a thing about Judge Dredd, because the Eagle comics were about to come out, and that was a huge thing. And I mentioned the fact that I had no comic shop, so my stepfather was from Pittsburgh. We went up there for Christmas, and I got to go to a comic shop, and I think they had about the first 12 or 13 issues of the Judge Dredd Eagle comics, and that was all I wanted. I just ran for those, and I loved them. They were, because there was just something hilarious about that kind of over the top super cop character. I mean, he was judge, jury, and executioner, and I think
exactly.
It was in that. Yeah, it was in that comic scene that they had one of the panels or mentioned it or something about Judge Dredd, taking care of some bad guy, and some citizen coming out in the street going, "Yay, Judge Dredd!" and Judge Dredd turning around and going, "You're jaywalking," and shooting him.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, that's the type of thing that's, tongue in cheek, that's hard to translate into a more serious movie.
Well, in effect, RoboCop did it.
That's true.
RoboCop was so much like Judge Dredd.
Might want it to be kind of hardcore, like Terminator or Predator, right? I mean, in a way,
right? But at the same time, it'd be a little wacky, and RoboCop did that first one. I remember thinking at the time that they completely ripped off Judge Dredd with it. But yeah,
you have 15 seconds to comply, or whatever it was. 5
yes.
seconds. Yeah.
Yes. And it was brutally violent.
And then brutal. Yeah, they drop about 1,000 rounds in the first 5 seconds.
Yes. And just lots of squibs, lots of blood. And Shadowhawks, I just glanced over at the chat. He's talking about effing Mandalorian took his helmet off.
Yeah.
There was just no way they weren't going to do that. I don't think audiences nowadays like mystery. They hate it. That's why we see all this stuff, where they've given Wolverine an origin. And
is it just
all these
that
things.
They want it all spelled out for them?
I think they hate it. I think they hate the idea of there being any mystery. They want to know.
Is it that they don't have any critical thinking? Is it that fast food mentality?
I think they're just used to getting everything. They binge watch a show and get to see every episode of it. There's
well, we talked about Smallville, and there was True Blood, and that's probably, I've not seen any of that, but I imagine it was sort of soap opera like, but so was Dark Shadows back in our day. It was a soap opera, a gothic soap opera. And
well, we didn't have We didn't have
That's kind of
instant
what
gratification.
comics are. They're a soap opera.
Yeah. I was thinking about that the other day because I remember reading an interview with Cary Bates, who used to write a bunch of the Superman books.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember reading, it may have been in Comic Scene, where he said that he had actually studied some of the soap operas because the way they would introduce a subplot, essentially you had there was an arc going where you had 3 stories going at the same time. Mm-hmm. As one story was reaching the climax, you were introducing another story.
Exactly.
But the other story and then by the time that story is in its sort of peak,
mm-hmm.
the third one is long, and so by the time you get
to pull
you're
that
still
off,
already
Mark,
hooked. Yeah,
the trick is pull that off in indie books without being on a monthly basis.
I think it's impossible.
Yeah,
that was the driving force. Was that you had these books coming out once a month, and you had to get people reading it, and you couldn't kill a character every month. You couldn't have a number 1 every month. You had to keep it going.
I still have not seen any Mandalorian. I wouldn't mind watching it. It looked like it got fairly decent reviews. At least
I really liked the first 2 seasons of it.
First 2 seasons.
Yeah. It kind of went off the rails. Here's what I think happened to Mandalorian is, so they had the Baby Yoda thing.
Right.
That wraps up at the end of the 2nd season, and I think it was supposed to wrap up. But then, the character was extremely popular, and I think they switched gears and decided to undo that. And it kind of...
Why? It's a marketing bonanza.
Well, that's
they even made a Baby Yoda Pez.
Of course, because so if you do that, now your character isn't going to be on the show anymore. Higher ups are not going to be keen on that. They want to keep that alive. So they had that in between season that was Boba Fett, which I did not care for. I think they really messed up Boba Fett in that show. But it ended up being the last 2 episodes of the Boba Fett season were basically Mandalorian episodes where they undid the leaving Baby Yoda, because the spoiler is that Mandalorian takes him to Luke Skywalker, and Luke Skywalker is going to train him because he has Force powers. But then they just undid that. They said, well, really, I'm just going to take the kid back. And so, yeah, that kind of sent it off the rails a little bit. It's be careful what you ask for. As a kid, I would have loved to have, constant Star Wars stuff, but it doesn't hold quality when you try and throw a bunch of quantity out there. And Star Wars was as special as it was because there was so little of it.
Yeah, and you had time in between. You had the marketing blitz with every toy and everything.
Yeah.
Bed sheets and pillowcases. And,
Well, here. I mean,
it was a phenomenon. It was an event.
I don't think they've done it well. But Star Trek, you could have another show with a different captain. With Star Wars, I don't care about anybody outside of the main characters of Star Wars.
The core group. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to know about some bounty hunter on another planet that has nothing to do. That may as well be its own sci-fi show. It doesn't even need to be connected to Star Wars, as far as I'm concerned. I will say, Shadow, that Obi-Wan was extremely dumb, but I did enjoy that
you mean
final
the Princess
battle.
Leia show?
Yes, I did enjoy the final battle with Obi-Wan and Darth. Now, even though it should have never happened, I just from a fan servicey thing, I liked being able to see that happen.
Now, it was only available as a Google Drive link Right. And there was, for a short bit, there was a Mega NZ link to it, but somebody went and edited down the Obi-Wan show into like an hour, 40 something minute movie.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see where that would be good.
That would have been that actually would have been a cool and fun Obi-Wan movie. They edited it out, and they just edited it down, and that's all they got too. It was like an hour and 40 something minutes of Obi-Wan out of the whole season.
Yeah, I will say, seeing Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan again was rewarding.
It was nice.
Seeing what's his name as Anakin again was rewarding, but the show had no reason to exist. I don't think Obi-Wan and Anakin had met in that in-between time.
Well, even
you can throw in dialogue where he still thinks that Obi-Wan is a master, but we know that when Darth Vader says, when last we met, you were the master, this is going back to then. He has not seen Darth Vader since then.
Yeah, no, it really is. And honestly, the only callback that I've liked to any of the previous stuff was Obi-Wan's encounter with Darth Maul in Rebels. It's a beautiful, it's one of my favorite fight scenes in all of Star Wars, because these are two grand master swordsmen facing off against each other, and it's an Akira Kurosawa moment. Yeah. Like, it belongs in an Akira Kurosawa movie where they have their conversation, they face off against each other, and you can see the fight. And like, okay, he takes up a stance, and the other guy takes up a stance, and then he adjusts his stance, and and you get that whole spaghetti western kind of ecstasy of gold pacing of the three-way fight scene. Only it's between the two guys, and then it's bam, 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 and it's done.
Yeah,
it's done, and you can find it on YouTube. I'm like, dude, you watch that. That is absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, with Rebels, I've seen key episodes that had to do with other characters. I
never really got
interested in the thing.
My kids really enjoyed it.
I love the Clone Wars.
I love Clone Wars up through season 6. Season 7 was Ahsoka Tano, the show. It was more of a YA kind of thing.
Yeah.
It was more of it was YA for a girl audience is what it was.
So in the Ahsoka
season
show,
7. The season really 7
was now. Well, I'm talking about the actual live action.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched that one yet.
The sort of, I don't know how to. It wasn't a dream, but the sort of Forcey sequence where they have young Ahsoka with Anakin fighting the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
I was like, why didn't they just do that? I don't
honestly.
I don't.
Season 7 of Clone Wars should have wrapped it up, because Clone Wars was Lucas's redemption for the prequel movies. He was filling in the blanks and in between episodes.
Is this the animated you're talking about?
Yes.
Yeah. Between episodes
not the
2 and 3,
not the ones that Jenny Scott Tarkovsky or whatever did. The ones that were 3D animated.
Yeah, and with the newsreel in the beginning, and then the rebels, blah blah blah.
That's kind of heartening to Starship Troopers, isn't it?
It was good. It was
like
of the Clone Wars.
Yeah, it was like the serial stuff that it was all based on.
Straight out Flash Gordon.
It was kind of like the radio programs,
And in season 7, they take all this hard work of building this character, Ahsoka Tano, and then all of a sudden she's like a master, like out of nowhere. She's like a master level in her abilities and all this nonsense. And I'm just
and there I'll say again, this idea of I like the mystery. when Clone Wars started to get good and you actually started to like Ahsoka, you had to think, did she get killed? Because we know the Jedi were killed off, and that mystery of not knowing what happened to her, like you said, it just kind of went off the rails. I don't feel it was as strong. Although that final
then
thing
got
that
her
they
friend,
did,
mental illness haircuts, and it was all sorts of insert modern day politics. Not so much as a subtext.
That finale they did on Mandalore, though, with the sort of final battle, was great. And seeing her there at the very end, that image of her knowing that she's going to have to go into hiding. And
for me, Clone Wars ended at the end of season 6. Just if you stop it there and don't watch any further, it's good entertainment.
Tank Mark said something that kind of pricked my interest. He said, young people, I don't think like a mystery in there. They want it all spelled out for them.
That's not true, because if that were true, then My Hero Academia and One Piece wouldn't be the most popular entertainment right now.
Yeah.
They're absolutely, they blow everything out of the water. Mark.
You're wrong.
Well,
they blow everything out of the water.
If it's not the kids, then it's the people who making it that don't like a mystery.
See, there it is. And I think Sargon of Akkad put it best when he said that these people are cargo cultists. Like, the cargo cults of the South Pacific, like they build these wicker airplanes and satellite dishes and VR headsets out of wicker.
Okay, I've seen that.
Right, and they're trying to get these airdrops again that they were getting during World War II by accident and all this stuff, and they don't understand the magic, right? They don't understand how it works. And Sargon of Akkad pointed out, and now he was saying this in reference as to why we're never gonna get a good Star Wars again. I'm like, well, I wouldn't say never, but I would say right now you're not, because they're cargo cultists. They don't understand the magic. They go, oh, look at this, it's kitschy, and they're like,
well, and they seemingly all want to have some, piece of the canon, that.
Well, they want, and it's a notch in their belt.
If there's a mystery, they want to be the one who filled in the mystery, but they have no right or, there's no reason why they should be filling it in.
Well, and even then, even if they were to fill it in, they don't understand how the magic works, so they can't fill it in properly. They're going to put in this wicker airplane and call it a Jedi.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, because that's essentially what I see nowadays is, you see a listing for the Star Trek comic and find out how Han Solo got his boots, because everybody wants, and I don't care. I don't care. I don't think about things like that, and they're not. And here's the thing about canon. Canon with the Bible was after the fact. They had all these books, and then they decided which ones were canon. Just because somebody wrote a book didn't make it canon. But that's the way they view it now is, oh, well, this obscure comic book has this in it, so it's canon. No, it's not.
Yeah.
Because nobody's going to remember that.
And it shouldn't.
I didn't argue with Disney saying that all the extended universe stuff is legends. I'm like, you know what? That's okay, because some of it is garbage.
Yeah. Well, and look, I always
knew, a legend. Let it be a tale. I always knew that
if Lucas was going to make a movie, he wasn't going to stick to what was done with those. As much as they wanted to say that, if he wanted to change something, he was going to change it. And to me, the movies would be what were the canon. But canon has now become the word that makes me wince the most. Is I hate people throwing around, oh, it's now canon this, because they do it a lot with Star Trek, and I'm like, none of this fits. The continuity of Star Trek has been destroyed. No, so you can't say any of this is canon.
And here's the thing with Star Trek did it right when it came to segmenting their canon. They had alpha canon and beta canon. Alpha canon is the stuff that you got in the series, like original series, prime time, or what we call now prime timeline. So that's the original series, the animated series, Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, right? And the movies, right? Then you get the Jar Jar Abrams Kelvin timeline.
Yeah, the Kelvin timeline.
Right, Jar Jar Abrams. We warned him if he fucked it up. Pardon my language. I got like kids watching right now. Kids.
Well, did he? Did he
admonish me later?
Though? Did he mess it up?
Oh, dude, he fouled it up so bad.
Well, here's what I'll say about
this.
Here's what I'll say about the JJ. First of all, JJ was not a Star Trek fan. He saw it as an opportunity to make a Star Wars movie, not knowing that he was going to get to make a Star Wars movie a few years later. The fact that they chose to make that a different offshoot timeline made it okay for me, because it didn't impact what I knew. Those stories were still there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But the original Spock appeared in that.
But they couldn't embrace their own idea. And so with the very next movie, they bring Khan in.
Yeah.
So you're like, that's saying, here's everything is open-ended. You can do whatever you want with these characters, and what you're going to choose to do is redo an episode that already exists and not do it well. So, and then I definitely don't like my biggest problem with JJ's Star Trek was Kirk had a reputation of being Kirk, but the Kirk in the Kelvin timeline never did any of those things to earn that reputation.
Yeah.
No, he had Shatner's reputation without ever doing anything to earn it.
Mm-hmm.
He was a screw up through most of those
absolute Mary Sue.
Yeah, he was a screw up. Yeah.
Yeah. And so you're going, oh, well, he needs to be the greatest captain of all time. He needs to actually do that first. Then you can say he's the greatest captain.
Yeah.
And have him be a complete
you're in charge.
Moron. Yeah. I mean, to the point of, what, it would never have been a time where Shatner would have agreed to have Kirk be killed and Spock go and fight Khan. That's not how Star Trek works.
No. And so, like, and what's funny is that, what do you call it? Lower Decks, the animated show, kind of even thumbs its nose at the newer Star Trek, basically saying, well, the newer Star Trek and us included, because they're dogging on, they're even clowning themselves, saying we're not canon, we're not alpha canon, we're beta canon, we fall into the same category as the comic books and the novels. We are not legit.
Yeah, it's
enjoy the ride.
Yeah,
just enjoy the ride.
Is modern day riffs on what exists before. I think the biggest problem I have with new Star Trek is they want to appeal to a broader audience, so new Star Trek is dumb.
At least Lower Decks is a comedic love letter.
Yeah, yes, I don't think anything that happens in Lower Decks it would be canon. It's a cartoon.
No, they actually go over the final two episode, the two episode final solidifies that, like, this is beta canon. This is not alpha canon. This is beta canon, and so is this, and so is that, and multiverse sucks. Here's a ship full of Harry Kims, which is just that part was just too much comedy.
You got Star Trek fans saying that something that's non-canon and not even the show is in Orville. Is more Star Trek than Star Trek. You got a problem.
Orville is and that's the thing, is that Orville, even though it's a comedy,
right?
Seth MacFarlane, he's not a cargo cultist. He understands the magic of Star Trek.
Yeah, Orville was a show that started out to be a parody of Star Trek, but then couldn't help but be more like Star Trek.
Dude, and season
where
3
everything
was
else
serious.
Where all the other Star Trek stuff starts out supposedly wanting to be Star Trek, but really wants to be something else. That's the biggest thing. And this goes back to what we were talking about, with Wolverine not having the mask. It used to want to bash in my head that you would hire people to make these superhero movies who didn't like the source material.
Yeah.
If you're embarrassed,
exactly.
If you're embarrassed that your superhero is in a superhero costume, you don't like the source material.
I agree. If they would just, I've said that many times, if they would just stick to the source material, it would work, and it would please the fans, and it would please non-fans and make new fans.
You can stray a little bit from it, but you need to understand why the thing was that little diamond in the center of the why it was liked. And you can't say, I like Star Trek, but I really want to make this other genre, because that's not that's not Star Trek.
I mean, Discovery was garbage, but the aesthetics of Discovery would have been better served to be a new generation. Like, okay, let's update like what Star Trek Next Generation did. It updated the look.
Discovery was originally supposed to be an anthology show. Each season would follow a different character in a different timeline. There was never supposed to be carry through. And the guy who was doing it,
Kurtzman,
whose name? No, not Kurtzman. Who was the guy who got fired? The original guy. He did Hannibal. He did Pushing Daisies. He was on Voyager. Well, he wasn't on Voyager. One of the writers. I can't think of the guy's name right now. I'm blanking on it. But he said that when they fired him, he had just approved the costume designs and he had just rejected the designs for the Klingons. When they fired him, they changed the costume design and they kept the design of the Klingons that he had rejected.
Yeah, dude. I love Lower Decks clowns on the Kurtzman. It may be very fun. They may be very happy.
Yeah, what Brian Fuller, that was the guy's name. What happened is that I can't remember the name of the guy. Les Moonves, really hated Star Trek, and he really wanted. Here's the thing with Star Trek and some of these others is they look around and see Star Wars doing well, and they think we've got a Star Wars, and Star Trek isn't Star Wars,
right?
Yeah.
No, Star Wars
totally
is
different.
Star Wars is a space fantasy, and Star Trek is science fiction.
Hank, have you seen
two different things?
Have you seen Strange New Worlds?
Yes. I couldn't even finish the first episode.
Oh, really?
Really? I bought the first episode, but the thing of it was, I'm not invested even after a whole season. I'm just not invested in it. It doesn't. The
only episode that I'm really gonna go watch is the one where the characters from Lower Decks accidentally appear in
live action. Yeah, that was good. There's an episode that I think it's the last one of the first season where they do the episode Balance of Terror from a different point of view. They essentially say if Pike was able to survive and the thing that he did didn't happen.
That was actually
Pike would have still been captain of the Enterprise when Balance of Terror happened.
It would have led to a disaster.
And it led to a disaster and the death of Spock. And so it was a really good episode.
It was. It was.
The thing with Strange New Worlds is that it can't decide if it wants to be serious or campy. And it leans into the camp more often than it leads into the
honestly, I feel
a Klingon musical.
Honestly,
the whole musical.
Yeah, right. Honestly, I felt Star Trek died with Romulus. I felt it died with Romulus.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, Star Trek, we kind of got as much Star Trek as the people doing it could produce. By the time of Enterprise, I think Star Trek wasn't used up, but the people who were making Star Trek were used up. They've been
Enterprise was where they started with the temporal Cold War, is where they started putting the lid on the coffin.
Yeah. Well, and remember though, they brought in Manny Kodo for the last season, and he re-energized it.
Yeah,
he leaned into the Star Trek stuff. We got that.
And look, I was actually looking forward to the to the first Federation Romulan War.
Yeah. There were places that you could have gone with it.
Yeah, and that's what it should have gone like from the beginning. It should have gone like, okay, we're going to do the space exploration. We didn't need the Xindi and all that other nonsense.
Right. Well, I think
we already had a big baddie to show up, and that was the Romulans. And then we don't see them much later. And now
that was a reaction to 9/11, though. But the thing too, talking about the uniforms in Enterprise, you can draw a straight line from those Enterprise uniforms to the Next Generation uniforms. Mm-hmm. They don't look like they went to the Kirk uniforms and then to the Next Generation, because they had the sort of lines on the shoulders to indicate that shoulder area and stuff.
Yeah, there was some continuity problems there with Enterprise.
But they did that Mirror episode where they put them in those Kirk costumes, on a TOS Constitution class ship, and
that was great. I enjoyed it.
It was fun, and I think that's the one thing I like about Strange New Worlds, is because they're trying to resist that season-long arc or whatever. Mm-hmm. You can have one-off episodes that are actually decent. I don't like this idea. You were talking about Obi-Wan, being edited into an hour-and-a-half movie and it working. Most of these shows are 6 or 10 episodes long, and they're a 1 hour-and-a-half movie that they're stretching.
Yeah, no, for real.
And it's so much filler that it's just terrible. And you all know, you can feel watching all of these that they're written by committee. The characters could interchangeably have the same dialogue. Nothing mattered. They do the thing too where all the characters have to get in a room and everybody gets a line, because you can't ignore, you can't have Sulu only say aye sir. He has to be able to, all the ancillary characters have to have their moment in the sun, and it becomes ridiculous. You're like, nobody talks like that. No, you don't get 12 people in a room and they have a single conversation where each one knows what to say when. That doesn't happen. There are leads. I think Discovery made a huge mistake in keeping the idea of that they were going to focus on not the captain. Because in Star Trek, everything is motivated by the captain. You can't have, if you decide the first officer is the main character, then the captain has to be an idiot or wrong, because if your main character is making the decisions, they have to be the captain. Otherwise, the captain is just conceding to the first officer every time.
Yeah, no, and Burnham was a terrible character. And I was very disappointed, because I enjoyed the actress from her time on The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
Whereas I was, kind of sad to see her leave the show, I knew that she was getting an upgrade in her career, which was cool. She's going to Star Trek. Awesome. And I watched that I slogged my way through that whole first season. And
it was rough. The second season had Pike, and he was more interesting, but it was because he was a throwback to the kind of character we were used to.
Right.
But again, it was dumb. Klingons had time rocks, magic time rocks that you could travel through time with. Star Trek, the technology was not entirely, believable, but they made an attempt to have some science behind it, and have some rules. Star Trek didn't do magic per se, and there's just so many things. What's the Red Letter Media guys? Have you ever watched them?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They did a little parody of Discovery, which they were kind of pointing out that in Discovery, because they wanted to reach this audience, they dumbed it down. So anytime there were any kind of a technology thing was brought up, like, let's use the technobabble that you would have in Star Trek Next Generation, they would relate it to something from preschool. You know, someone would say, "Oh, it's like a teeter-totter." Yes, because the dumb people can understand what a teeter-totter is.
It's like a balloon.
Then they would high five each other and say, "Yay, science!"
That's great.
And that's exactly that. All that used to frustrate me. I made it longer into Discovery, but I finally gave up. I think halfway through the third season, maybe the fourth season. I can't put myself through this anymore. I'm trying to be an open mind. I like Star Trek. I want to be here, but I can't. They went to the future, which, like you were kind of hinting at, they probably should have done from the beginning, so you can just ignore continuity, or continuities all happened in the past.
Right.
But they decide that every dilithium crystal blew up at once because somebody was sad. There's nothing to connect dilithium crystals. There's not a network of dilithium crystals. There's no reason how that would even happen. And it just hurt my head to sit there and go through this.
Yeah, no, it's so silly.
Yeah.
It's so ridiculous. But
you know,
gaming channel gets shut down or something? Can't find my gaming channel. I'm trying to find a link to my gaming channel right now, and
you know,
that's like, yo,
that's one thing that kind of lost me with the somewhat is I was like, oh really? They're hearkening back with Pike in Strange New Worlds to him being on Discovery, which Discovery, wasn't it called Discovery?
Yeah,
I don't know.
It was. You guys were just talking about it.
Yeah. They brought him in the second season.
Yeah.
Again, so that they could do something ridiculous where they introduced the idea that Spock had dyslexia.
Oh my God.
Which is ridiculous.
I know.
Spock does not, but they wanted to have some identity thing that they could attach to him. It wasn't enough that he was a Vulcan. And that's the other thing too, is so Discovery had this character, their alien character was from a species that were prey. So their entire culture and everything was built around the fact that they were timid and they had to hide from predators.
Which you know, that was actually a storyline with the lithium crystals in the original Star Trek. If you remember, they were a real timid race, and they were like, you know, we're going to take the lithium from you. And
where did I say that?
What
was
that
was?
Are you talking about the Organians?
No, he's talking about the episode from. He's talking about the people from the episode Mirror Mirror, first Mirror First.
Exactly.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So, anyways, they have this character who this is what makes his species interesting, and I think they made it to the second season before they took that away from him. It was like, oh, if he stands up, these things fall off and he doesn't have those abilities. It would have been exactly like doing Spock, and then in the second season they say, hey, he's got emotions now, because we can't deal with the fact
well, the whole thing in the movies that we were talking about is that him and Uhura hooking up.
Yeah, that didn't make sense.
I hated that.
Yeah.
It was also.
Well, it sidelined Spock as a character then, because he was always like, oh, my girlfriend doesn't like me.
Well, and plus the character, I mean, granted, the character has, in the original series occasionally had some romantic interests and stuff like that. But often when it came to the conversation of romance with Spock, it was usually the girl going, you're so cold, man. Like,
yeah,
it couldn't work out. and he's better served as an asexual character.
And
well, that was the thing. Nurse Chapel was in love with him, but he could not
sexually frustrated because he loves
he couldn't reciprocate because he.
But what was it was the first season episode with the spores. What was that called?
Right. Oh yeah. The with the planet, the groovy plants that keep you safe from the Berthold radiation.
Right, and and he hooks up with a woman who had been in love with him when he was in cadet or something, and we get to see that.
Yeah,
and then when it's over with, there's that it all just falls down because he no longer can do that, and she looks at him and he's gone, and you only need to do that once or twice.
Yeah, and see, that's understanding the magic, though. That we're talking about. What is the magic of the character? What is
that's exploring the depth of the character, right? Different aspects of the character,
right? But if you do it every week, then it's pointless.
Exactly.
And that's what I think the young people who are making these things now are doing, is that they all want to have that thing.
Yeah.
But
so
it's
again,
not.
I want to bring the conversation back. Tank, you said you disagree with Mark. I made a joke out of it and said, you're wrong, Mark. That.
Oh, I remember, Rex. I got mystery.
That. What do you say, Mark, to that? Because he says, well, this and that wouldn't be Hero Academia.
Well, I think the difference is that Tank is talking about the readers, and I'm talking about the people who are making who I think of as young people. So when I say young people don't like mysteries, I'm really talking about the people who are
the young writers don't like mysteries, but the young viewers, they love mysteries.
Viewers love mysteries because that's what hooks you. That's what keeps you in the thing. Is if you go ahead and throw out all your cards, it's over with.
Well, one of my sons, like his favorite show right now, and he's hooked, is Robotech. It's his favorite show right now. Like I was like, hey, check this out. I tried to show it to him when they were younger.
Is that the retro old Robotech, or have they got a new?
The original Robotech, yeah.
Oh, the original. Okay.
The Carl Macek production. And he's almost through the Macross saga. He's right towards the end. And then we're going to watch the Sentinels movie. Then we're going to watch the Masters. Then we're going to watch the New Generation. And then we're going to watch the Shadow Chronicles movie. And then that's it. You're out of Robotech. Time to switch over to Macross. Got to get your protoculture fix.
I don't know if it's because I'm old now, but I really have trouble. I don't want to get hooked on a show with 100 episodes. I don't want to spend the time anymore.
Look, if the show doesn't grab you in the first 3 episodes, drop it. Move on to something else. It's not worth it.
Yeah.
If they can give you a good hook, a good build-up. First of all, if they can't give you a good build-up or hook in the first 10 minutes of the first episode, then I usually just turn it off. I might stick it out if there's I might see a potential there. With anime, I give it 3 episodes. If you haven't hooked me in 3 episodes, then I'm turning it off because I understand the Japanese storytelling is a little bit more of a slow build.
Yeah,
but
go swinging all the way back to Smallville because it encompasses all this. It was kind of fun on Smallville when every once in a while they would make a nod to knowing Superman's future. If Clark would say he was afraid of flying, or
right,
or he goes to a costume party and he has a cape and they say, hey, cape looks good on you, or something like that. Those are kind of fun, but it's become now where they just beat you over the head with that. They can't tell a story without just doing as many nods to it, to the point of Inner Darkness, where they have to completely word for word do the Spock death scene with Kirk and Spock switch places.
This is one of those moments where I'm going to throw shade, and I'm going to say that they're low IQ Dunning-Kruger cretins.
Damn it,
they are idiots. They're fucking morons.
I was Has there been a point during this conversation where we haven't thrown shade?
Well, I mean, no, I've been fair and professional up until this point, but I'm just going to say that these some dummies, and they don't get it. They think they've got it. They think they're really smart, and they've had these helicopter / they've had bulldozer parents, right? That's worse than a helicopter parent, right? The bulldozer parent removes all obstacles. So they've never gotten their teeth knocked out. They've never fallen on their face. They've never had a real challenge in life. They've always had a bailout. So, and they've always been given a trophy, no matter what they did. And they've never learned. A person learns best from their mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And they've
that's why I'm a genius.
To make this thing, right?
Rex has learned so much.
I've learned so much.
I'm smart enough to know that I'm an idiot.
Yes, you do have to. I have always found that the true intelligent people acknowledge the fact that they don't know everything. It's the people, the people who tell you they know everything are insecure. They don't.
The worst part, the worst part about being intelligent is that you realize just how stupid you really are.
Yeah.
And this is why aliens don't visit.
I mean, the most intelligent thing you can say is this: I know nothing.
Yeah, right. So, quick shifting of gears. So, Rex, what I've got up here on the screen, I've got a little exhibition match set up. Little advertisement, if you don't mind, for my gaming channel this Friday.
There you go.
Friday Night Fights, which I'm going to be doing.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Oh, this is going to be good. So tonight, guys, feel free to comment on this and everything like this. I've got a fatal 4-way set up with Scalpel Zero, the internet's favorite crossplay waifu Bowsette. We got Felicia from Darkstalkers and Sindel from Mortal Kombat. So this is the waifu squad matchup right here. It's all computer. And what I do is I don't sit there and play the game. Right, this is all computer versus computer. I do not know what the outcome is. Yeah, this is all simulated. I don't know the outcome. I am just as surprised. And what I'm looking for right now is I'm looking for a good co-host, somebody, preferably somebody who wants to be able to be the heel host. Right, somebody who wants to talk trash, root for the bad guy, so on and so forth. Right now, I've got just kind of like an open door for anybody who wants to come on and hang out during the live stream. Because I've got a big event. It's the Mortal Kombat Championship event this Friday over on Tank Ferret Gaming. Link in the comments. But if you guys are down, let's get ready to rumble, as they like to say. And see what we got going on here. We got Scalpel Zero. This is my flagship character for Apex Predator and the Retribution storyline. So we're gonna see how she does right now. This upcoming Friday, she is going up against Cammy White for the Waifu Champion, the World Waifu Championship belt. And this has been a rivalry that has been building up for quite a while. It's gonna be brutal. We've got the premiere for Scalpel 21. We've got the premiere for Neon Revenant, both making their debut this Friday, and John from Beyond's Black Tiger is going to be in the cage with Chun-Li. This rivalry will come to a head this Friday over on Tank Ferret Gaming. Let's get into the match. Let's see what we got going on here. Oh, yeah, it's time for some Mortal Kombat Extreme Rules Fatal 4-Way. You gotta love it. You gotta love it. Awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun.
So if you're not subscribed to Tank Ferret, there's his channel link for his gaming channel.
Yeah,
that's not his only channel, but that's his gaming channel.
Yep. And which I'll be doing. I've got Scalpel 21 versus Skyrim, so it's science fiction comic book character versus Skyrim going on there, legendary difficulty. Let's see if let's see if a sci-fi comic character could take down some dragons. We are watching an exhibition match, a fatal four-way between Scalpel Zero, Bowsette, Felicia from Darkstalkers. Oh, there she is. Bowsette, the world's favorite cross-play waifu.
Oh, yeah. To the ring from Austria, the Queen.
Yeah, Bowsette. She's a dirty player. Definitely not one to be trifled with. Real powerhouse.
Can you give me her number?
Right.
Rex would like to interview her pre.
Hey man, I'm coming at you with the fan service here.
Yeah. In depth.
Just kidding.
Coming at you with the fan service. And of course, this is all simulated. No humans were involved. Were harmed in the making of this production.
Freudian slip there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there's bound to be a few with these waifus rolling around here.
I'm thinking that a human was involved with picking out her costume.
You know, I downloaded this character,
and I think it was
back
on
in the
the
day.
glitch.
We got Felicia from Darkstalkers, everybody's favorite Darkstalker. Well, I don't know. People say maybe Morgan, maybe Felicia. Either way, the waifu is real.
I'm going to say that wearing kitty gloves does not is a poor choice for a fight.
Well, she's got a big old cat paws. She's I don't know. She's some kind of cat creature from the Darkstalkers old fighting game, right there. But and 100% fan service.
She opted for mostly no costume, just paint.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the old Darkstalkers video game? Man, that game was awesome. It's a great fighting game. Let's see who else we got coming out next. Who's coming out to the ring next? Uh-oh. Oh, what's this? Oh, it is the champion, Scalpel Zero, the prototype. And she's coming out.
Well, wait a minute. She's apparently having trouble getting out of her dressing room. Okay.
Well, when you're a $500 billion prototype, then you're bound to have some security. We can't have this technology just leaking out. You know what I'm saying?
But she's going into the actual part where people are going to beat her up, not with security.
Champion, the prototype.
Now, I did not plan for her to become the champion. That happened organically in the game.
No, now.
Happened at I simulated a whole year. And then I was like, okay, cool. This is going to be my starting point. Right.
So is there any connection between her being the champion and the fact that she has the most clothing on?
Right.
Is that an advantage in the fighting?
Hey, she's an Agent Series cyber droid.
Oh, okay.
She's got to be, professional. Got to be professional. Oh, the crowd's
Mark, I got to ask you how Star Trek's doing.
Oh, don't ask.
Okay. Wow.
I'm struggling. I'm struggling with these extras. I'm working on some stuff, and I go through this almost every time, and it snuck up on me this time. Is just I reached the end. I'm tired.
Will you never learn?
No.
No, I will never learn.
No. You have to forget it so that you agree to do the next movie. And but I think I'm down to the point that I'm going to have to take a week off from work, because right now work is just kicking my ass, and I'm just too tired when I get home to work on it.
And of course, the queen of Outworld herself, the evil one, the wife of Shao Kahn, Sindel, the evil mistress. From beyond.
Well, wait a minute. How is she a mistress and a wife? Who's involved? Who's the mistress part?
I mean, how do you get more evil?
I guess that Rex would definitely know about ex-wives. So
yes, I would.
But this is her arena, the Mortal Kombat arena, of course. Her home turf. She has the home field advantage.
Now
here.
I remember why I haven't seen you in a while, Mark.
Damn it.
Here we
What
go.
is
Here
this?
we go.
I love WWE. The crowd there is
Fatal 4-way. And it goes off. Bowsette and Scalpel Zero, of course, going at each other. Felicia making quick work of Sindel. But Sindel trying to tow her that this is her ring. Felicia's not having any of it. Oh, the action's great right off the bat.
now.
Zero
Wait,
on the outside of the ring.
Is the girl with the
Oh!
green top the champion?
With the reverse DDT on Bowsette. Got her by the hair. Oh!
We got a question,
Kiss
Tank.
the ring.
We got a question.
Yeah, what's up?
Ask your question, Mark.
Is the girl in the green top the champion?
Yes, that is Scalpel Zero, the prototype cyber droid in the year 2065. Bowsette with the reversal and a Russian leg sweep.
Off
The
the top
Felicia up
turnbuckle.
on the top rope. Oh, and she impacts right on Sindel. That's gotta hurt. Sindel with
I
the
didn't
kick
feel
out after 2.
Yeah, our champion is suffering from some lower back pain.
Oh yeah.
Suplex
Zero
this.
saying she's not done. With Bowsette. Bowsette avoiding her.
Have we got one
Oh,
down
yeah.
already?
the
Everybody
ring.
thought they would be watching that
Oh no, she's awake.
when I checked.
Going for a chair. Oh. Uh-oh. Zero getting ganged
Hey,
up
Dale.
on. Fighting her way free. Oh.
Dale
Quick
said, "The
back and
heck is
forth.
this?" Bone says, "I used to watch Glow when I was a kid."
Oh, heck yeah, man. Yeah, I've got Glow as in this series. I've got Glow as a champion event, as a special event. The
Tank,
regular
do they
event, I
ever
call-
just randomly grab somebody out of the audience and beat the snot out of them?
No. The audience does their good job of getting out of the way. Oh,
Yeah, that's not realistic.
Zero.
I think that would be a great intimidation move, just to grab somebody out of the audience and
Zero
Yeah,
going
for
for the
the-
Apex Predator, showing off their dominance on Bowsette. Bam!
Oh, ouch!
That's gotta hurt.
Thank goodness she has those large inflated breasts, or her nose would have been broken when she went to.
That's
Face
right. You gotta
down.
have the puppies and the kitties.
Mark.
Gotta have the puppies. Oh, that's coming out great, man. That's
Oh,
coming out
nice.
great.
Coming out, it's done. Coming
It's
out.
beautiful. That's Blacklight Reactive, right?
Well, it will be when I get done with it, hopefully.
Oh, have you
Okay.
got markers or something that do that, Rex?
No, but I'm faking it.
Oh, you're faking it,
Uh-huh.
so it won't actually happen. You're just telling people it'll happen.
Oh, Sindel taking it back into the ring. Going to the
Well,
top rope.
you can get it printed that way, you know.
Okay, yeah.
Missing by a mile.
Put a
Uh,
spot color on it.
I don't
or
know if you
something.
saw these. I did that one on Tank.
Yeah, you showed me that one.
Oh,
Okay.
it looks great, man.
And this is the one I just finished. Maybe it's kind of messy, but hey,
Nice.
did this one last night.
That's
That one
cool.
started out as a, glow reactive thing with the green lines, but drawing it in green. And then here's one.
Nice.
I've done some others.
What's Jar Jar's eye stalks doing in the lower part of your screen?
Oh, yeah, it's my Jar Jar mask.
It's
Dreamweaver.
like you skinned them.
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh,
Well, I
like it.
mean, once he did that movie, there was no need for. But yeah, I've been working on these. I'll make them light reactive.
I've been playing around with what it would take to do some 3D stuff, using depth maps to try to make anaglyph things.
Look at that.
I just think lenticular is super expensive, but boy, would I love to do that.
Oh, lenticular is, yeah.
Yeah.
George Lucas.
Why is Catgirl not jumping on them?
She just, the AI sometimes gets janky. Oh, yeah, trying to go for a pin a little too early there. Valzette gonna suffer for it. Oh, that had to hurt. Oh, with the steel chair. Oh, right in the baby maker.
You leave my baby maker alone.
Felicia lining up. Oh.
Why is there a referee there? Because clearly none of this stuff is legal that they're doing.
Right. Well, this is an Extreme Rules match, and that means there are no rules.
So you really don't need a referee.
The referee's there just to count them out.
Okay.
2. Nope.
Oh, this isn't going to be good.
Oh. Trying to go for that submission. Felicia getting out. Sindel making Zero regret it. Valzette swinging and missing and decides to strut her stuff for a second. That's what we call waifu material right there. Sindel with the reverse. Oh, with the double team.
Must have got the cameraman.
Yep. Oh,
I think our Catgirl has had some serious brain damage because she's been wandering around and just standing in place.
1, 2, out on a count of 2.
Yeah.
Valzette completely unaware that she almost lost this whole match. Of course,
Clueless.
That makes sense.
If you're clueless in the wrestle ring, you're probably
Felicia dominating the ring. Oh, going for the pin. 1, 2, 3. It is over, folks. Felicia, the winner of the Fatal 4-Way.
And it was the Catwoman that did it.
Yeah.
Let's check out some
even though she
here.
was wandering around in corners with the chair for a long time.
Zero dropping that Apex Predator.
Oh, yeah, you hadn't got the mat. Just right there on the concrete floor.
That's right.
That's going to leave a mark.
Felicia, the winner. The winner for our little exhibition here.
Look at those paws.
Yeah. Yeah, Rex, that person is covering a lot of bruising.
That the person who made that character, I downloaded him off of the community back in the day. Of course, the servers, this is WWE 2K19. The servers are no longer supported because 2K games, they're very kind of a scummy company.
Well, the costume reminds me of some of the markings you were talking Star Wars on Ahsoka or whatever.
Yeah, Ahsoka, yeah. Ahsoka. She was orange and white.
Yeah.
But here we go. Let's take a look here at the upcoming event for the Friday's event. Let's see here. Where's I gotta remember these here. Okay, there we go. We got a one-on-one match between Batgirl and Tifa from Final Fantasy VII. Of course, we got Joe Exotic. He is the manager for all the animal-themed wrestlers.
Well, so Tiger King is not Batwoman.
yeah, he's the manager for Batwoman. You got Joe Exotic, the Tiger King. And then we've got for the World Waifu Championship, we've got a one-on-one Extreme Rules Scalpel Zero versus Cammy White. Oh, this is going to be a matchup. This is a rivalry that has been heating up for quite a while now. Then we've got Evil Rose versus Catwoman. Oh, this is going to be a great match right there. A real cat fight, if you don't mind. Then we've got this rivalry coming to a head, a one-on-one steel cage match between Street Fighter's Chun-Li and John from Beyond's Black Tiger, which is a successful indie comic. You can go check it out. Definitely worth a read. And this is one of the things I'm doing with the show. I'm bringing out some characters. I'm going to be building. She won't be here for this upcoming Friday's event, but Perfect 10 will be joining the league in time for the next major event.
Oh, wow.
And then we've got Scarlet from, I do believe, Mortal Kombat versus Raging Golden Eagles, Shiara from Blade Devil, and a 1-on-1 falls count anywhere. Then we've got Bowsette versus the X-Men Storm, which is going to be one thunderous match.
No
it,
lightning.
sure.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does Aurora get to use her powers? Because it's a kind of a one-sided affair.
No. This is all wrestling, all things equal. They get teleported to this dimension where they're all kind of made equal. So it's up to the skill of the competitor.
Maybe there's a power dampener. Maybe there's a power dampener.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. That. And then we've got in her debut Scalpel 21, the production model to meet the expectations of the prototype versus the princess of the Mortal Kombat Outworld realm, Mileena. So this is going to be in the main event. This is going to be one hell of a match this Friday. Tank Ferret Gaming. This is going to be it, folks. It's going to be a lot of fun, and I really hope that everybody. Hope you all enjoyed the little exhibition match, that little taste. What is to come?
That was a lot of violence.
That's the way we like it. We like our matches with violence.
Bone has a question for you, Tank.
You know what, Bone? We've got Samus and 2B both in the league. And I've got 1A. Oh, yeah. I've got Bayonetta. I've got the Baroness. We've got some. Dude, I got some of your favorite waifus battling it out to see who's the best. And I've got more coming.
Awesome. Go check out Tank's gaming channel. Of course, he has his regular channel, and he'll be streaming what? How many times?
Tonight at 11 o'clock Eastern, 11 p.m. Eastern. I'll be over on my channel. I'm going to do a warm-up, and for that, I'm going to do my submission for Belmont Press's Pencils Down art contest. And then I'm going to be doing a production piece, a quote-unquote badass Scalpel Zero, because we need to get that. This is for the merchandise line.
Cool.
Manufactured, made in the U. Our products, we try to make them domestically for our markets. That way, we support local economies. So if you're buying it in the U.S., chances are it was made in the U.S. If you're buying it in the U.K., it was made in the U.K. Most of the shirts we try to when it comes to where the merchandise comes from, we try to make it come from a democratic nation. With
right.
Right. We support freedom. We support democracy.
Concerted effort.
Yeah, we make it concerted. Sometimes it's next to impossible because it's made in like Malaysia or China, which are dictatorships.
Yeah.
And sometimes there's just no getting around it because they're the only two countries that I.
Well, I know Tokame's been, with his Cyberpunk magazine has been, hung up in customs for some of the technology, getting from China.
Yeah, no, Edgepunk magazine is absolutely fantastic. I get to see behind the scenes. I get to go look behind the curtain on that. And I'm going to tell you, Punk magazine, when that thing comes out, dude, I've got one of the prototypes here on my desk. It's like a little credit card with a thumb drive in it. And it is cool. I've passed it around. I've shared it out. Like Stan Lee said, comics are like tatas. It's great to look at them, but it's better to have them in your hands.
Did he actually say that?
Yes, he did. And I'm paraphrasing because I've got
who am I to dispute?
Hey, this is creepy Uncle Stan we're talking about.
Gentlemen, I am going to bow out. I am starving at this point.
Yeah, no, I've got to get running here
something.
too, Rex. I got to feed the family. To what?
Well, thank you guys for coming on, making the show a success. Okay.
Yeah. Hey, thank you very much for having me.
Yes, we made it.
We had some good conversation about, we'll do a Jinsaki later on.
Yeah.
All right.
We'll circle back. We always do. Check out Tank Ferret. Go get you something to eat, Mark. That's probably what I'm going to do. Check into doing something like that. Feed the dog.
I gotta go
whatever.
make dinner for the kids. So
yeah, there you go.
Fed.
Make that custom made mac and cheese. Keep collecting, keep reading good books, and keep watching the stars. Why not?